Okay. Okay, welcome back to the March 31st City Council meeting. We're doing public comment. I believe we had someone in the room. Z, if you'd like to come back. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Priscilla Lynch. I live in Conway, but I do consider Northampton part of my larger community. I've worked here, I play here, I have friends here, I shop here. So thank you for letting me speak. I'm also here to speak about the lawsuit. We all see and hear every day what's happening in Palestine and the genocide, and every day it's more horrific than the day before. I really commend Northampton for the divestment efforts, and I hope you will remain strong and courageous and won't be bullied. I believe the community will have your back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So back on Zoom, I see Elena. Welcome. Lower right hand. Let's see. Where'd you go? Elena? Just check for her again. Elena, why don't you log back on? I don't see you anymore. And then we'll come back to you. Okay, back in the room while we wait for Elena. Let's see. We're up to Mark.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Mark Irvich, Ward 2, member of Congregation B'nai Israel in Northampton. I want to thank the council for passing the resolution. I'm also speaking to this lawsuit and the response to it. It was reported that some members of my congregation met with the mayor to talk about the resolution and contended that members of the Jewish community were pained by this resolution or caused them pain. I just want to make it clear that me and many, many Jews in the area and in the city are pained by what the Israeli government, in conjunction with the U.S. government, is doing in the destruction of Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, and Iran. Often people at the council and in government will speak to representatives of the legacy Jewish organizations, and I just want to be clear that they represent a particular point of view that there's, if not a majority, at least a substantial majority of the Jewish population, and if you include other progressives, a substantial number of people who support this resolution and hope that the council, to the extent that they get involved or give advice to the mayor, will be strong in maintaining it. It's the councilor's task at times to meet with members of the Jewish community and hear their views, and I appreciate that and encourage that. But I just want you to be clear in any of these meetings. Are what people talking about really concerned? Is it really, quote, anti-Semitism? Or is it really an attempt to shut down discussion on the whole Israeli situation? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I see Elena's back.
She couldn't unmute herself.
But then she wasn't there anymore, so I don't know what happened there, but I have to unmute her. Where did- Okay. There. Are you able?
Okay, here I am.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Okay.
I can't show my video, so if you can show my video.
Yeah, we may
You know,
not.
you want me to just talk?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm going to make this quick. I don't want to make a habit of being a public official who shows up for public comment. Before I start, I see you, Counselor Dubbs. I see you, Counselor Garrick Perry. Thank you for being part of our community and for being here with us. And absolute no to bullies. And I also want to thank the council for welcoming Amy Martin, who is representing the school committee this evening, who's going to share with you on the schools. I know that she and some of my colleagues have worked really hard on this presentation, and I hope that you all enjoy what she has to share. Thanks again for listening to us. Have a great evening. Good night.
Good night.
That's from my son Gabriel. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Gabriel.
Mr. G.
Okay. I think she's done. Okay, so back in the room, let's see, Laura?
Yeah.
Belushi?
I brought olive oil. It's pretty special olive oil. It's even better than Southern Italian olive oil, which I have to really, that's tough for me to say. But today is Palestinian Land Day. It's the 50th anniversary. It was yesterday, actually, and I got this because at Christmas I bought a few bottles of Palestinian olive oil from the West Bank. My late husband was an ardent supporter of the Palestinian people, and he worked with he was Egyptian, worked with the Jewish community in Boston for many, many years, way back when Rachel Corrie was bulldozed down by Caterpillar, a U.S. company. She was defending a Palestinian home and olive trees, and she was brutally, horribly killed. Rachel Corrie, if you haven't heard her name, and this goes back a while, so young people may not have, look her up. I have been to the West Bank. The Israelis bulldozed down olive trees that are hundreds of years old. They bulldozed down people's homes. And this is the harvest from last fall. The farmer's name is on it. Just imagine the danger he put himself in by publicizing his name on this company label. There used to be a lot of it. There isn't that much anymore, and it's exorbitantly expensive. And when I put it on the table, my family knows that people maybe died or were threatened at the end of a rifle to get this out. Last fall, I read that rabbis from the U.S. went to Palestine, went to the West Bank, I'm going to finish, to help with the harvest. And they were met with IDF soldiers, and they had rifles pointed at them.
Laura, could you just say where you're from, please? Laura, could you just say where you're from? You said your name, but-
Yeah, Laura from Northampton.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here every other week, I figured.
Well, not anymore, but that, you mean before.
I just had somebody who said that she's still closed.
And I went off with the pen.
I think they have, yeah. Hold on, just, we'll continue with public comment, just give us 1 minute. Double check. Yeah, I know, but that's when, they're not there, so I'm not sure how they are, they're not listed, so. But thank you for letting me know. Just 1 moment, just want to check. Okay. Okay, I don't see hands on Zoom. Drew, would you like to give comments? Welcome.
Is this already at 4? No, not yet. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Hi, my name is Drew Richard. I'm a resident of Ward 3, and I'm a parent of a rising kindergartner in the Bridge Street district. I come to public meetings, particularly the school committee meetings, sometimes to comment on tech in Northampton public schools. I was at the finance committee meeting here last week, along with a few other people, to raise concerns about $200,000 per year over the next 5 years in the mayor's capital expenditure plan for the public schools. Money that is marked for further back. Okay.
Yeah.
Money that is marked for purchasing and upgrading Chromebooks. Nobody who organizes around these issues likes Chromebooks. The lead education article in the New York Times this week was about Chromebook remorse all over the country. Here in Northampton, YouTube, which was recently found liable to the tune of $3 million for a young woman's tech addiction issues, is an opt-out feature on Chromebooks, so it's automatically enabled. It should be the other way around. However, as Laura Carney pointed out, we have a lot of work to do surrounding tech, and I believe that the school committee is taking it seriously. And this particular purchase has been vetted in that context. The first order of business is a phone ban. And the purchase of these Chromebooks, as I understand, will make the phone ban easier to achieve because students will be less likely to need to go to their personal devices or take out their phones because their older Chromebooks are having trouble running the software. So I'm here today to support the mayor's capital expenditure plan for the schools. There was also some talk at the Finance Committee about the need for better collaboration around capital expenditure between the mayor and the school committee. I'm very happy to see that Member Martin is here tonight. I think that's a really good sign, and I look forward to Member Martin's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the room that would like to give comment? Just come on up.
Hi, my name is Cohen Gweither. I use he, him pronouns. I've been living, working, paying taxes, and voting in Northampton Ward 3 since 2023. I am very proud of the City Council for its unanimous support of the divestment resolution. The lawsuit from the National Jewish Advocacy Group has no legal or moral basis, given the long history of divestment resolutions, from South African apartheid to fossil fuels and so much more. As a Jewish citizen of the city, I'd like to reinforce what many other Jews have said here tonight, that this group does not represent my views or interests, and that I'm disgusted with how the National Jewish Advocacy Group weaponizes accusations of anti-Semitism against those who stand in solidarity and work for the liberation of our Semitic brothers and sisters in Palestine. It is my hope that this council will continue to push for the demilitarization of Northampton. This means defending the resolution already passed from the baseless lawsuit, as well as passing a weapons ban to target the functioning of weapons manufacturer L3 Harris, which many residents, myself included, have made clear consistently we don't want operating in our backyard. The Northampton L3 Harris plant makes electro-optic targeting equipment and imaging masks, including parts for the Trident subs, which have enough nuclear power to end all life on Earth, and the F-35 fighter jets, which are one of Israel's primary warplanes. L3 Harris claims to be one of the top 5 suppliers for the F-35 and manufactures over 1,600 components for each plane, including weapon release systems. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, let me just check. There's no on Zoom. Alex, come on up.
Hi, Alex Bowman. I'm a huge supporter of the Picture Main Street project, but we're really losing an opportunity if we aren't incorporating all ages and abilities infrastructure across the city. Right now, tonight, you're on the ordinances, is ordinances around the high school intersection, and what is not being incorporated is all ages and abilities and infrastructure. And that really concerns me because this is in our dense urban environment where getting around on a bicycle is really possible. And so when we're missing an opportunity to incorporate all ages and abilities infrastructure, that's going to be there for a decade, 2 decades, who knows how long. And it's really missing an opportunity. So I hope the council will ask, are we doing everything we can to incorporate all ages and abilities infrastructure in our projects, especially in our dense neighborhoods? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. On Zoom, we have Jennifer Scarlett. Jennifer, let me see, I probably need to unmute you now that we changed the. Okay, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, thank you so much. Jennifer Scarlett, Northampton, Ward 4. I just want to echo what others have said about the completely baseless lawsuit, and to congratulate, the city council for the actions, multiple actions it's taken in support of the long-suffering people of Palestine. It should be just mentioned, and I'll be quick, that, the divestment resolution that the council rightly passed is needed more than ever now. Not only is the genocide in Gaza ongoing, not only is a slower version of genocide occurring in the West Bank, but as we all know, Israel is waging an unjust war on Iran and on Lebanon, and its actions in Lebanon may soon amount to a genocide. So, Israel is undertaking a Greater Israel project, and governments and international bodies are not stopping it. So it comes down to, the people, and the Northampton City Council is the people. So thank you, and, stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Back in the room, any other comments? You can just come up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm CM Flynn. I'm a member of Ward 3. I've been a Northampton resident for over 17 years now, and I was really excited to see the divestment ban go through. Really exciting, and really appreciate that you all took our feedback into consideration. So I want you to keep up the good work with that, and to really think deeply about what your community wants and needs, which I think you're doing. But I also want us to think about what our community would be like without L3 Harris in it, right? So instead of picture Main Street, I think we should be picturing what our town would be like without an arms distributor, because nothing really good comes of that. So thanks for your time, appreciate it, and I look forward to more actionable steps in the future to have them out of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on Zoom, Benjamin Blair.
Hello, I'm Ben Blair. I live in Ward 3. And I also want to just echo the comments I'm hearing in support of the divestment resolution. I was present at City Council when it was passed. It makes me proud to live in Northampton. And I also support moving away from allowing L3 Harris to continue to operate in Northampton. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Back in the room, any other commenters in the room? Okay, and I don't see any more on Zoom, so we'll end public comment. Thank you for your comments. So we'll move on to announcements from councilors and the mayor. And then we'll move on to presentations. Yeah. Oh, okay. Lori, Councilor.
Yep.
Lori Zell.
I just wanted to note that today is International Transgender Day of Visibility, to raise awareness about discrimination faced by transgender people and celebrate the many, many ways they enrich our communities. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Councilor Stratton?
Yes, I want to remind people about the CPA exemption, which waives the 3% CPA charge and the water and sewer-based customer charges. Tax exemptions in Massachusetts are generally hard to qualify for, but this one is actually very broad. It's for homeowners who are either over 60 years old and earn less than median income, or under 60 and earn less than 80% of median income. Median income in our area is substantial. Many people qualify for this and don't realize it. In fact, I discovered I qualify myself. If you're over 60 and your income is $83,000 or less for a household of one, or $95,000 for less for a household of two, or if you're under 60 and it's 66,640 for one, or 76,610 for two, or 85,680 for three, these thresholds look at your total income minus out-of-pocket medical expenses and health insurance premiums. So even if your total income is a little bit over, medical expenses can bring you back in range. And tomorrow is the last day to take your federal income tax forms to the assessor's office in City Hall and qualify for a retroactive exemption for the 2026 fiscal year that we're just wrapping up. If you can go tomorrow, take your 2024 tax forms, again, your 2024 federal 1040 and schedules, to the assessor's office on the first floor of City Hall. After tomorrow, they start accepting applications for fiscal year 2027, which begins this June. So if you can go in tomorrow, take your 2024 forms. If you can't go until later, take your 2025 forms as soon as you have them finished. And unfortunately, under state law, we can only offer this exemption to homeowners and not tenants, even though tenants end up paying these same charges included in their rent.
Thank you. Councilor Robbins.
Thank you. Just a quick one to say that I'm going to be holding kind of a conversations town hall thing at the Senior Center on April 13th for residents, 5:30 to 7:30. If you want to come early and have a slice of pizza, we'd love to chat and see you then.
Thank you. Mayor, do you have anything? No. Okay. Okay. So, Councilor Davis, did you have anything? I just want to make sure since any announcements. Okay, great.
No, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to presentations. Tonight we have a presentation, The State of the Schools by School Committee member Amy Martin. Thank you for being here, Amy. Member Martin, I should say. Yeah. And yeah.
I saw that, learning all the tricks. Hi, everybody. It might be okay for me. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I know it's a really busy time for you, and I appreciate you giving me some of your time tonight. I'm Amy Martin. I use she, her pronouns. I live in Ward 5, and I'm a new school committee member as of January 5th. And I'm here tonight because I love our schools. I love our students. I love our educators and our administrative staff, and I know you do too. Some of you know well what I'm going to present tonight, or parts of it, but I'm here in hopes of strengthening the connection between the school committee and city council. Next slide, please. This is Valerie Reese, also a school committee member who is my tech support tonight. I believe that we have a shared understanding that educating our young people is key to ensuring our collective future will be in good hands, not to mention our democracy. There is a reason our current president has said that he loves poorly educated people. Defunding public education actually began in the 60s in response to the civil rights movement. Northampton is committed to anti-racism, and that means committing to public education. At the same time, I know we all agree we need financial stability. We may have different ideas about what that means or how to get there, but I think we can find that we have to find a way to support all of our departments. Next slide, please. You, of course, need to make a decision this spring about funding our children's education for the coming year. And it's true, we do need a longer-term plan for school funding beyond just this year. As you know, we will have a new superintendent joining us in July. And on our school committee now, we have 2 members with 4 years of tenure, 1 with a year, and the remaining 7 of us have less than 3 months of tenure. And so that's a lot of change, and it will take us time to make a long-term plan. And we'll need to do that with you. So for now, we need to hold our over 2,300 young people with as much care as we can as we adults try to come together to make this plan. Our school district, as you probably know, is already not in compliance with legal mandates and already has an active federal suit against us. We need school stability along with fiscal stability. We need the mayor, the city council, and the school committee to work collaboratively to determine how we can sustainably fund our school district this coming year so that we not only meet our legal mandates, but create a school system worthy of the progressive values we all cherish in Northampton and the dreams that we all have for our children. Next slide, please. And so there are big decisions to make this funding season in the face of the tough funding situations that we all know well, the limits of what Northampton working class folks and those on fixed incomes can afford to pay in taxes, the limits of Prop 2.5, declining enrollment, which reduces our state per pupil funding, but which does not reduce our fixed school costs or allow us to reduce classes or offerings, and in the face of increasing student needs. And finally, of course, there are the limits of our broken school funding formula. The Mass Association of School Committees recently said in a training that it is at best 6 years before our school funding formula will be fixed. That's a long time from now. These are enormous, complex, challenging issues. You know that. You've been hearing about all of this, whether on the City Council previously, on the school committee previously, for those of you serving there, or during your campaigns this fall. And while you'll be voting on the budget for the school district, the real question isn't really just about money, it is about our values. If we can't fully fund every student's education, if we can't meet the needs of other departments, we owe the public straight answers. And then we have to figure out together how to prioritize. Next slide, please. So our school district, some of you know it well, some of you less well. So, yeah, you're good.
Did it switch?
Are you looking at it in Zoom instead of looking at it in the software?
I don't think so. Am I? Sorry.
Take your time.
There it goes. I don't know why it was just.
There we go. So we have 2 preschools at Leeds and Bridge Street School. We have our 6 elementary schools and secondary schools. And we have a robust student services department that oversees 14 programs. It's staffed with special ed teachers, paras, occupational and physical therapists, and interventionists. Just to name those 14 programs, because you hear about them sometimes. RISE, which is for students with autism, with programs at Leeds, Bridge Street, and Jackson Street School. RISE UA for students with complex physical, medical, and sensory needs at Ryan Road School. Learning Strategies at JFK and NHS. It's a course block that provides students with direct instruction in active reading, essay writing, and problem-solving skills. We have an ASD program at JFK and NHS, which works with our students with autism. We have an ALP program, also at JFK and NHS, which is an alternative learning program providing learning strategy support and space for regulation. We have a WISE program at NHS. It's an online program for students to retake or make up credits for courses they previously failed or did not complete so they can still meet graduation requirements. We have a GOALS program at JFK and NHS. This is for students with moderate, severe, or multiple disabilities. We have a PACE program, which is for students aged 18 through 22 with intellectual disabilities and autism, providing continued special education supports and services beyond grade 12. Finally, we have our new IGNITE program, a new district aftercare program that will begin next fall. It will help our families in town deal with the childcare crisis we have in this country, adding a district-run option for aftercare in all elementary schools. So it's a pretty complex system that we have. Next slide, please. And there are many, many things in our school, hopefully, you will see, that are great. There we go. Our students are great. Just last week, I was at JFK for an hour with our Ask Ambassadors there. That stands for Accountable, Safe, and Kind, which are the core values of the JFK school. The Ask Ambassadors are 60 students from all 3 grade levels who are the middle school version of the high school student union, representing the student voice with teachers and administrators. And they were amazing, smart, engaged, thoughtful. They shared their thoughts on the cell phone ban that may be coming and the cell phone use in bathrooms, sexual harassment there, swearing, the need for adult educators to have time to help create a culture that addresses these issues more effectively, and more. Of course, we just had the wonderful musical at the high school where the creativity and talent of our actors and musicians, as well as the behind-the-scenes crew, was on full display. And then also our students who went to the State House to advocate for full state education reform. Just an incredible group of students. And then some of us were lucky enough to go on the tours to the schools. Some of the school committee and city council members were there, and the kindergartners at Jackson Street shared their books about themselves with pride. They beamed with confidence as they shared their stories about themselves. And there's so much about our schools that shines so beautifully, and so many educators that actually make that possible. But also, next slide, please. We have our challenges, and they're serious. You've heard about some of them already, but I want to highlight some other ones. We have a serious bullying problem in our district. One example is the 3 fights that we've had in Northampton High School in recent weeks. As you probably know, the high school was put into lockdown for one of those, and a person was taken to the hospital. The JFK students I talked with last week talked about bullying as well. And the federal court case I mentioned before is underway against the district. It's a wrongful death lawsuit against our district for a student who died by suicide in 2020. She was a student in our district from kindergarten through grade 5 at Jackson Street School and then at NHS. The suit claims that the district did not adequately protect her from bullying or fully meet her IEP. We have mental health issues here, as elsewhere. Our students struggle with depression and anxiety and other challenges. And as I mentioned before, we're hiring a new superintendent. This will be our 3rd, as some of you know well, since 2022. We've also had a great deal of turnover in our principals and our student services and curriculum leadership. The impacts of COVID on student learning are long-lasting. The kindergartners who started in September of 2020 were not back to in-person learning full-time until September of 2021. They won't graduate until 2033, 7 years from now. So these issues will be with us for a long time. And then finally, of course, we have ICE. We have children in our schools whose parents have been detained, including one of our Northampton district families just recently where a parent was detained. So we have to ask, have we done enough to protect our students in this instance as well? And are we prepared to respond to the next family that has a detainment in our school community? And as some folks at public comment have mentioned already, we have big questions to answer in our district around tech in education, how it can help prepare our students for the future, but also not replace the intellectual development that has to happen person to person, teacher to student, student to student, off of tech. And the growing rise of AI in education. What are the threats and what could be the opportunities? We have a lot of work to do on all of these issues. And I want to especially, next slide please, talk about special education. As some of you know well, our district was found out of compliance by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, in the spring of 2025 regarding how we provide special education services. We commissioned an independent review. It released a report called the Case Report with its findings in the summer and fall of 2025 and found that while many families expressed appreciation for the teachers that they worked with their students, their children, there is a lack of compliance in the district with district-level communication with families and service consistency. There is an over-reliance on paraprofessionals to provide these services to students. And what's called the multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, the implementation of that remains in early stages with inconsistent practices across schools. What's significant about the last one is that successful intervention with multi-tiered systems of support means that our students are given what they need when they need it to reach our educational goals for them, and it reduces the need for special education later. It's one key investment that we can make now with interventionists and other services that will better serve our students, and it does have the important side benefit of saving the district and city money over time. Next slide, please. I also thought it was important to have context of a longer point of view. I talked about how public school defunding has been going on for decades. So some of the things that we used to have in our district are important to remember. And some of these are things we've never had in our district, but that other districts have. Most of them are things that we've lost in our district. So we no longer have librarians in our elementary schools or JFK. We no longer have paraeducators who stay with elementary teachers year over year in classrooms. We no longer have assistant principals in elementary schools, and almost all office staff in elementary schools are gone. We don't have free sports. We don't have sports at JFK. We don't have free busing. We don't have late buses. We've never had late buses, but that's an equity issue that other districts have adopted. We don't have free driver's ed. We no longer have a culinary or childcare program at the high school. We no longer have 9th grade literature and writing classes for all students. We don't have architecture, civil engineering, or drafting at Northampton High School any longer. We don't have print shop, metalworking, or advanced ceramics, and there's more things that we have lost. Next slide, please. So who do we serve in our schools? We have, as of October, the number flexes and fluxes as families move in and out of the district, but we had 2,382 students. And some of the demographics of our students are that 32% of students are Black and brown, 30% are low income, 25% are served through student services with special education to meet their IEP needs. And we have 16% who are English learners or whose first language is one other than English. It's a wonderfully vibrant mix that we have in this community. It's one of our strengths, and it has a great potential, and it needs our support. So what I hope is that we can find better ways to talk about how to provide that support. Next slide, please. So I know many of us, some of us ride our bikes, some of us ride our scooters and our wheelchairs around. We all have to navigate a lot of potholes. The potholes mostly are going to get filled over time, but the figurative potholes in our schools, they're not as visible to most people in our community. And with our target and level services budget that you will be considering, they will stay and they will grow and they will become educational, economic, and moral sinkholes. So I urge us all as a community to have a deeper, more creative, and more collaborative conversation about the difficult choices that we can make to most reflect our collective values. Some of the ways that I think that we can do that is by having the school committee representing the city's largest department work more collaboratively with the school committee, and particularly the finance subcommittee. Debbie and I have talked about that. And not just during budget season, but throughout the year. That would be an important start. And it is one that is standard in most other municipalities. Other things that I think we collectively need to seriously explore, you're familiar with these, what pilot program innovations are possible. Can the City Council opt in to have more say in the final budget of Northampton Public Schools? Can we have town halls for more community engagement? And could we explore over time participatory budgeting so we really do understand what the values of our collective community are and have broader, deeper conversations? I think we owe it to our learners of today and tomorrow, and actually we owe it to ourselves because these students will become our adult caregivers, our adult neighbors, and our next generation of leaders. So this is my presentation. I hope it can be the first of many engagements that are open, honest, candid, and direct. And I think I can speak for the whole school committee in saying that we very much welcome that, and I hope we can get going. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to being in touch with all of you.
Thank you, Go ahead.
And maybe there's questions. You were going to see if there were questions,
Yeah.
which I may or may not be able to answer because
okay.
I'm new, but I'll try.
I appreciate that, and thank you. It's clear you put a lot of time and thought and innovation into this idea. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we have I don't want to go on I'd like to keep it under 15 minutes, but if there were questions or for Member Martin, we could field those. Yes, Councilor Robbins.
I just have a quick one. We do have some items we're voting on tonight, and I'm confused about whether or not the school committee has voted as a group about what your decisions are about these capital improvement items.
We have not. We've had discussions about changing our process going forward so that before these things come to you, we can review them, which I understand we need to look at our charter to really determine that. I believe that it is under the purview of the school committee, but we need to be sure of that. So no, we've not as a body discussed any of these things. Eileen Davis and I were on the capital improvement committee, me as a newcomer, her as a number of years serving. But that was not brought back to the school committee either, from my understanding, by her, certainly not by me.
Okay. Yeah, questions about the presentation. Any other counselors' comments or questions? Make sure Counselor Stratton.
So, I mean, I really want to thank you for bringing the challenges of the schools to, this chamber and this body. I think the most challenging question is that, Northampton has a charter which basically follows state law defaults. I mean, it's a custom charter, but it is very close to state law defaults. And under that, the city council cannot appropriate money. We can vote something down, but we can reduce it, we can vote it down, which doesn't actually do anything. Only reducing it does something. Or we can approve it. We can't increase anything. And you've laid out the case for what the schools need. I think my question is, what is your ask of this body? What would you ask us to do? If you were sitting here, what would you be doing?
I certainly would be discussing the option to opt in, which does give you another tool in your toolbox. The previous school committee, city councils, as you know, have declined that option. But to me, it feels like it gives you, another choice for how to have discussions about what's possible. Because with that, my understanding is you can make changes to the budget that otherwise, as you mentioned, you cannot. I certainly, obviously, believe that there needs to be a big discussion about what the values are in supporting the school district. You've all heard many, many arguments about the increases to the budget to the school department versus other departments. These are hard discussions for you all to have. I believe that we need at least a version of the strong budget to begin to meet the legal mandates and the moral mandates that we have for our students in this district. That will, serve all of us. And then, of course, really, I do think this is the beginning, I hope, of a longer engagement to really change how we practice our communication between bodies, to increase understanding. I really feel like that's critical. I think it's been hard. I think there's been reasons why it's been hard. I'm really committed to, having that deep discourse that is productive, constructive, generative, so that we can see what else we can do, what else is creative. I know other districts are able to do this. I think it requires more of our time, and I think that's what our children and our community is asking of us.
Thank you. Councilor Loizao.
So I had a parent come to my house yesterday. She has a child at JFK. She didn't want to talk about the budget. She wanted to talk about a cell phone ban. And I've had a lot of parents reach out about their concerns about technology. And I guess I feel like for a while, the school committee has spent so much time talking about wanting more money. And I haven't heard conversations about what are we going to do about cell phones. It's like there's so much data about how bad it is for students. I think there's probably going to be a ban statewide. And I don't know why the school committee hasn't acted on it now. And
sorry.
I mean, I get that you're all new. Most of us, some of us are new. The majority of us are new too. But, you came here and you say this is a frank conversation, but I feel like what you're saying is give us more money. And I guess I want to know, when is the school committee going to sit down and look at the money they have and figure out if you're spending it the way it needs to be spent? Because I didn't run for school committee. I'm not on the school committee. I don't have expertise, but I do feel like the whole AI, technology, cell phones in schools is a 5-alarm fire. And I feel like you guys could be doing something about that right now. So
I totally hear that. So as you probably know, there was an ad hoc cell phone committee that did come forward with a recommendation. It goes to our Rules and Policy Subcommittee, which has met exactly once since being sworn in. So, and I have to tell you, a lot of our policies haven't been updated since, I think, 2004. There is a lot of work to do in our district on a lot of levels. This certainly is crying out for attention. We're certainly also hearing from many, many caregivers, and they have a range of opinions. We have a very vocal group But as I hear from other parents too, who are not speaking at public comment or communicating with us directly, not everybody agrees on that. So, I think it does require some deep learning, and it's definitely, if the state mandates it, we have a policy in the works. As you know, there is an item that would provide funding should we need it. But there are different ways to go, and there's debates about the correct way to go to, we already have an off and away policy at both JFK and NHS. What could be done to strengthen that, which would not even, it might take more support of our educators to feel like they can enforce the rules that are already there. For some of them, it's easy. For some of them, it's very hard. What do we need to do about that? Our students have some very strong opinions about it as well, as you may have heard the presentation that they did to the school committee. So particularly at the high school, where we have young people who we need their buy-in in order for this to be successful. It has to be a process. Any kind of mandate just laid down is not going to be successful. So it is in process, absolutely. Along with many, many other issues. And AI, as well, we're hearing about that, not as much about it, ed tech, but it's there, and we know that we need a policy about that. I mean, it's already, obviously, in all of our lives in different ways. Generative AI, the ChatGPT kind of AI is newer and evolving so quickly. One of the things we've learned is that you need to kind of constantly reevaluate any policy you have and any tech that you have. So it's hard. We already have a lot of tech in our schools. We're kind of catching up on what is it and how does it work, and does what we already have serve us or not.
Councilor Perry.
Yes, thank you for the presentation, and I also enjoyed going on the trips to visit all the schools. It was lovely. I'm wondering, I know that Smith Oak is a little different than everything, but in these presentations, I see nothing about that. I'm wondering what the school committee, what the discussions and talk is, because we do have families, and in fact, my family has a child at Smith Oak, and so I think it's something that really is intriguing to me. So what are your thoughts, and what have you guys been doing?
In terms of collaborating with Smith Oak? The mayor and the superintendent are both on their board of trustees, so we have a link there. And I think for the first time, we had one of their trustees on the SIP committee, Julie Spencer Robinson, who used to be a JFK social studies teacher and also the head of the teachers union for many years in Northampton. Outside of that, I mean, it's a great question, but it is its own school district. And obviously we have many families where there are students who are in both schools. I'm gonna take that away to think about and talk about with my colleagues, but I'm not aware that there's anything beyond that, and it's something we should think about.
And I just had one more, if possible. And so I'm looking at the presentation, and there's a lot to digest, but one of the things you talked about is school challenges.
Yes.
So things like bullying, mental health, COVID. I'm just the district leadership turnover. How is the school committee attempting to deal with those things, and what are some plans, just so we can get some information here to support you? So I'm wondering, do you guys have a plan to deal with bullying? Do you guys have something that you want to do about ICE?
Thank you. I appreciate the offer of support, and I think that there are policies in place. We have every school for sure. The administration is dedicated to addressing these issues, and they're not easy to resolve. I think, we have a commitment to restorative practices, to transformative justice in this district. It's kind of nascent. It needs a lot of growth over time, but that is a practice that, when fully adopted in a culture, would be an enormous shift. But it is not just taking a class. It's not just having a circle where getting to know each other. Those are wonderful things. But to really build a culture where people feel seen and respected at every level does take time and resources. So, and I think, the leadership transition, there's lots to say about why that's happened, but here we are. We will have a new superintendent. I think tonight, actually, our ad hoc hiring committee is interviewing candidates, if I'm correct. I think tonight maybe is the last night of interviews. So, we hope that we are finding the next great superintendent for our district. That's really a pivotal opportunity for us, along with a pretty brand new school committee, to, build relationships with the existing administrators and educators to tackle these problems. I really don't have anything more specific to say to you about that, other than that, it is top of mind for all of us, and I know that there are new school committee members that this is a high priority for, and, we'll really be looking at our policies and reviewing those to see, do they accomplish what because that's some of our limits, right, on school committee is we work on policies, we work on the budget, and what's our third thing? We're all blanking.
We oversee the superintendent.
Thank you. We hire, evaluate, and oversee the superintendent. So, it's really up to the day-to-day staff, and it's our job to hire a superintendent who can help them do all of that work. So we are in a big transition, and there's a huge opportunity and a challenge in that transition for sure.
Counselor Clemmer.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy, for the presentation and taking the time. I know they're probably not hard for you, but they look really hard to do. So thanks for taking the time and coming here tonight, and the other school committee members. You said you didn't want to talk about budget, but you brought it up, and we've talked about it. And the strong budget would create almost a $5 million deficit. Nobody knows where that money would come from. Also next year and the year after, we've talked about this, how that hole would just grow bigger and bigger, and an override that large would not pass. So I know you don't have answers tonight, but just something to think about, and maybe in our next conversation we can continue talking about it. Because we do want to, myself, I do want to give the schools as much as we're able to, but we also have the city, and we can't create almost a $5 million deficit in our budget, because the only way to get money is an override, and if that doesn't pass, we're going to be in even worse shape than we are now. So, that's the reality of what's going on.
Yeah, and you and I think, and as well as others, have different perspectives about what the reality is and what the options are, and those are the kinds of conversations we really need to have. And, they're hard, and we haven't been able to do them, I feel like. You might disagree, super successfully, but I think we have to try harder. I think we owe it to our community.
Okay. Let's check for Arlene. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Member Martin and other members. You've got a tough job in a challenging time, and I see you and I appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. So we're moving on to the consent agenda. I'm just going to read, there should be no debate, discussion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any city council member prior to taking the vote on the motion to approve. All items will be considered then individually in the order in which they were removed immediately following consideration of the consent agenda. So I'm just going to read the title of the consent agenda, and then councilors can tell me if there's any removals. We have the minutes of March 19th, 2026. Thank you, Laura. 7 capital improvement SIP orders referred to the consent agenda, March 19th. 26.023, in order to appropriate $300,000 from climate mitigation stabilization for Jackson Street School air source heat pumps, second reading. 26.024, in order to appropriate $500,515,756 from the stabilization to MPS paratransit vans. 26.030, in order to appropriate $25,000 from cemetery trust and income for cemetery restorative work. 26.031, in order to appropriate $30,000 from receipts reserved for appropriation, sale of land for tax title properties. 26.032, in order to appropriate parking receipt reserve funds for parking projects. 26.034, in order to appropriate from capital stabilization and reprogram $120,000 for building facility condition assessment. And then 26.035, in order to reprogram tennis court project money to various NPS projects. And let's see, And then okay, and then we have the order 26.036. That's the end of the SIP orders, but then there's 26.036, an order to reprogram $6,310 for visual notification system in the JFK band. And just a note that all these would have to pass by 6 votes because they are appropriations. Okay, so any removals, councilors? Make sure I see Councilor Davis. Yes, Councilor Robbins.
Sorry.
No, I'm just noting, I'm just trying not to forget about our councilor.
I'd like to pull 7B 26031 and 7C 26036. Whoops, I didn't do that right. 26031 and 26036.
Okay. Any other removals? Oh.
Can you repeat that?
26.031 in order to appropriate 30,000 from receipts, and 26.036 in order to reprogram the 6,310 for the visual notification system. Those are the 2 removals we have so far. Any other removals? If not, we could have a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah.
I second that.
With those 2 removals.
With those 2,
Great,
yeah.
wonderful. So a motion made by Councilor Perry, second by Councilor Clemmer.
Loisel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Sorry, Councilor Loisel.
a second late.
That's okay. So yes, yeah, roll call.
Okay. Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
And Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay, so those pass. And now we're going to move on to 26.031. In order to appropriate 30,000 from the receipts reserved for appropriations of sale of land. Yeah.
So I actually, I did phone tagging with Director Nardi about this today, but I remember this being presented to us, and I think that not Director Nardi, so sorry, Mish, all these directors. I think that in that presentation, we heard that this is an expenditure that has quite a history to it. And looking back at previous SIPs, I saw it there. And I was wondering, first of all, how much lives in that account and where that account lives. And I think I have some sense of how it's used, but I don't have a larger sense in how it's used. And the biggest question for me is that if this comes up on all the SIPs that have gone back for a number of years, isn't that a recurring expenditure? So those are my questions. You taking it? Okay.
Thank you. So the money is actually, this is reoccurring on the SIP, but we use the sale of land money, which is money when the city has sold a property. It is put in the sale of land account. And that money we're asking you to transfer out of there and to put into tax title account, which the planning department uses when land comes up, when it's in tax title. That means that the city, somebody's not paying the taxes, we can't find somebody to pay taxes. We eventually put it in tax title and we take the property. That planning, instead of putting it out to auction, they may decide to buy the land in order to add to our conservation portfolio and our parks or our, help me out here. Just for anything that planning wants to do, some of the extending our pathways and our wetlands and our conservation land. So that's what that money's for. And so right now there is $95,000 in the tax title account, and we need to build that up in order to buy property. At this time, I don't think there is a target use for that in money, but we do build it up so when a land opportunity comes up that planning feels would be beneficial to the community, she has that money available. Does that help?
It does. It still feels a little murky about who decides how the money's going to be used, and it feels a little sad that it comes from people who've had foreclosure on their properties. But surely there are a number of properties that aren't suitable for extending into conservation land, and what happens to those monies?
So if we auction off property, we are only allowed now to take the money that is owed to the city, and the rest of it goes to the heirs or the owner, and generally speaking, they work very hard, the tax collector's office, to put programs together. We don't just go take houses. It takes years to happen. So it's something that's a last resort. And generally, these are properties, like I know we've talked about properties where there is no homeowner. We can't find anybody. They've been abandoned properties for different things. So, and generally, I don't think that's exclusive, but most of the time we don't take houses unless there's, it's actually on property and we remove the house or there's purpose,
So when we put $30,000 into this account, where does the $30,000 come from?
It comes from the sale of land account, which is from buildings that the city has sold or property the city has sold.
And how do we know that it's going to be $30,000 every year? It was
So
formerly, I
no,
think,
there
60.
isn't.
Yeah.
There isn't. There isn't 30,000 left. If we move this money, there's only $6,000 left in that account. What we're doing is we're actually using the money. We sold property. We received money for that. We put it in the sale of a land account, and then we're asking you, the counselors, to move it into a tax title account so that when property comes up that will benefit the city, the planning department has the money to purchase a piece of property that will add to the city's conservation or wetlands property.
So I have one more question.
Sure.
And that is, who has oversight of that expenditure then? When it moves into the planning board and the planning board then uses that money?
Planning board.
So it doesn't come back to council?
Correct.
So we're appropriating this money, but we're actually not going to be sort of
Correct.
advised
You're
about how it's
appropriating
spent.
money for the purposes of her buying property that would benefit the city under their judgment. If we,
I think if we purchase property, it does come back as an owner.
all right, I may stand corrected. It's in the account.
We couldn't hear what the mayor said, though.
So I think the mayor is saying it does come back. So maybe it does, but it is in a separate account called tax title, and it's in a project account.
So we will see that at some point.
I'm gonna check that, but the mayor says yes. My apologies. We have not bought any property since I've been here, so, or bought any, so, but I'll check.
Okay, thanks.
Is that a quickie?
Yeah, Counselor Clemmer?
Thanks. Yeah, just a quick question, clarification. So it sounds like this money, it'll be available if the planning board sees some land or property, so they can just act on it like other departments do, so they don't have to keep coming back to us to get it approved and then going back and forth. They'll have it available. They'll know how much they have, so they can make an offer.
Correct.
Thanks.
Counselor Stratton, and then we'll go to Counselor Loisel.
So I'd really like to thank my colleague, Councilor Robbins, for bringing this up because I hadn't really been focusing on this. The truth is that a lot of our conservation land in particular has come from properties that were, shall we say, behind on taxes. And I think sometimes we've obtained them, cut off a house lot or two, transferred one to Habitat, sold one at market, and then had a conservation area. And sometimes those stories, I do get the sense that there's a little bit of human pain behind them, where at least people, if not their home, at least their dream of what they were going to do was lost. And I'm sensitive to that, but there's been public benefit too. I think what I'm hearing, though, is that this particular account has not really recently reached a balance where we've actually been able to buy anything. And so most of the land that we've gotten that was in tax distress has basically been where we negotiated a deal with the property owner and said, we will do a friendly taking where we will pay you this much compensation in return for, releasing the tax debt. And so that it hasn't been this process, it's been a different process that was negotiated. In terms of the oversight of the council when the money is actually spent, I think that's a very interesting open question because it sounds like it's been a real long time. The urgency aspect, properties don't go into tax title by accident. I mean, by surprise. This is a lengthy process, as we were just told, and so I think there's forewarning that this is coming, so that if we needed to get an executive session item on a council agenda, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity to do that, actually, and I believe that the purchase of property is a legal use of executive session, or at least, the contemplation of it, because that would, be an issue for negotiations if you said you were doing it. So, yeah, I'm having some hesitance about this.
Councilor Loisel.
Yeah, I don't find this murky at all. It seems very clear. I've been really impressed over the years with the way the city has conserved land. I think our city has a lot of conserved land, which is something that is very important to residents. And this is $30,000. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't pass this tonight.
Any other comments? If not, I would be looking for yes, Director.
Just, the mayor pointed out, so I just want to say, what is the impact of not funding in the chosen year? The properties that are low value would not be absorbed. These are properties of low value that are not absorbed by the market and therefore remain as a liability on the tax non-payment ledger. And ultimately, there is a cost to the city for tracking, maintaining these properties. So it's taking them out of tax title where they weren't going to move or be purchased by someone else. So,
also, there's a house that I think must be, if not in tax title, almost there in my neighborhood, and it's such a hazard, and nobody's taking care of it. So it may be a sad story, but also it's a public safety issue to me. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I move that we approve this?
So there's a motion to approve. Is there
Second
a
it.
second? A second. So a motion made by Councilor Loisel, seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, let's just roll call on approval of 26.031.
Councillor Dubs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Maori.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
Yes.
And Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, so that passes. Moving on to the other removed item, 26.036, in order to reprogram $6,310 for visual notification system, JFK Band Room.
It's me again, sorry. And again, it's questions about it, and this is time sensitive. It says it would be put in place in April. It's, it's not an earth-shaking amount of money, but it is money that was in the school maintenance budget, and it just seems like an extraordinary amount of money to alert one classroom, because I think I've been made aware that this is a situation that could be in other classrooms as well. And I have done a little bit of exploration about possible alternatives to this, and I wonder if we have been presented with alternatives or if, in fact, the school committee has. And so on those grounds, I would, I wish it could be before the April spring break. I don't know if it can before it went in front of the school committee, but I would really like to see this go before them in greater depth before it came in front of us for funding.
Councillor Dubs.
Thanks. I just wanted to comment that I see this as a safety issue. I believe that this was based on multiple lockdowns where the band room was, I'm sorry, I have a cold, so the band room was not able to hear the alert system because it's so loud in the band room. And as someone who was in band when I was in high school, I know how loud it gets in those rooms, and so I feel like this is a safety issue, and it makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councilors? Councilor Robbins.
Just to add, I absolutely agree with Councillor Dubs on that. It is a safety issue, and my question really is whether or not it's a $6,310 safety issue. It's really about a flashing light, and even a quick Google on it lets you know that there are a lot of schools, older schools and older school buildings that have dealt with this safety issue as well. And this may be a very well-researched and logical outcome, but I would love that to come in front of the school committee to decide that they feel as though this is the best solution to this safety issue before that money gets spent.
Counselor Stratton.
You know, I very much share the concern that I think that this is a very large amount of money for a fairly simple problem, though it does have to be reliable. And unfortunately, in the scope of the things we're dealing with tonight, I think this is the smallest order. So I think that there are many concerns of principle being raised, but this is not the item where I'm inclined to hold out for those.
Yes, Mayor.
Sure. So yes, I just wanted to, I think you all got an email. So this was a request from the principal and from the band teacher. As Councilor Dubs talked about after some concerning incidents where they couldn't hear what was happening during a lockdown. But I also want to note that this is reprogramming funds from a previous capital project, or I think maybe 2 previous capital projects, which are not under the purview of the school committee. So those funds are capital funds.
Can I make a motion that we approve this?
Yeah. Well, you can make a motion, we can continue.
I'll second it then.
I move that we approve this.
So we have a motion to approve by Counselor Loizal, second by Counselor Perry, and then a comment.
Yeah, we spoke about this a lot last meeting, and it was requested by the schools. And I think it's more than just a flashing light. It might have some kind of message on it if it's just some random thing, or if it's something more serious like a silver alert or whatever they call it in the schools. That's a hospital term. You know, I don't think they would ask for it if they didn't really feel they needed it. And I think Councillor Dubs might be the only one that was in band here, and or maybe a couple others. But you know, he knows what it's like, and you know, I'd hate to have something happen because we didn't want to reprogram $6,000 when, you know, we're talking about the schools want $6 million for the strong budget. So I think it's well worth the money.
Counselor Robbins.
Yeah, I just, this is just about this order, and I think not about a different piece of that conversation. But it's not about it not being a safety thing. It's saying, and I hear what the mayor is saying about the school committee not having purview over capital expenditures. I think that's a discussion that they want to have, and that's really great. And I'm not going to push back against it. I just want to be able to say there's a question about process. This is a relatively small amount of money, but in that money, it could be used for other hardware for schools. So it could be used, for example, for the whiteboards that we heard about when we went through JFK that was needed in some of the English language rooms and in other rooms outside of science and math. I would love the school committee to be able to be the ones to be able to say, could we use this money for other purposes and do this same outcome efficiently and well, but perhaps look at alternatives that weren't $6,310. And I will let it rest there. I'm happy to have a vote.
Counselor Nabad.
Oh, sure. I don't know. I think the way that I feel about this is we went on the tours to the schools, and we did hear some stories that were a little bit scary, and about the lockdowns and things like that. And I think that we're in times that we do need to have something like this for students. So I also want to say that I really appreciated hearing directly from the principal and the people that are actually in the buildings doing the work. And so that's what I'm going to base my vote on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? We have a motion on the floor. If there's no other comments, we'll do a roll call on approval of Did you have a comment?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll just
go
comment.
ahead.
I'm trying to be
No,
less
that's okay.
chatty. But I'm going to support this, again, because I was at the tours and I understand how important it is. And I think it is important to understand that this came from the principal, the band teacher. And unfortunately, a quick Google search for a light doesn't understand the wiring, the other steps, the work that is put into this installation. It's not like you just slap up something you get off of Amazon and put it up in our classroom. There's a lot of things that need to be done. I've seen in other departments how intricate some of this installation is. You know, we were talking about recently upgrades to the systems at the fire department, at police department. And while this is a small thing, it's really important to understand that there's other things put into it other than just one piece.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, let's go for a roll call on the motion on the floor, approval of 26.036.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yeah.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
No.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
And Counselor Davis.
Yes.
That passes. Okay. Okay, going past the consent agenda, we're on to financial orders on second reading. I wonder if the chair or vice chair of finance would like to speak to the recommendations on the 7 financial orders associated with the capital improvement SIP referred to the finance committee.
On first reading?
The first one, A26.022, we were unable to reach a consensus. It was a split vote two neutral and two positive. 2 of the items were on the mid-year appropriation that passed, and then they were on the finance on this order. And before the meeting, we got an email asking that we don't approve the school items on the order, but we found out, we called Director Seawald, he said he didn't feel like we could break it up, so that's why we got the split vote. And then just before the council today, we got another email asking that we approve it, so that's that one. Everything else just passed unanimously. There was no discussion on anything, no questions. It just an unanimous recommendation. So that's where it was.
I'm going to, as a member of finance, I was going to chime in about my desire at the time for a neutral recommendation. We had gotten a lot of new information. And, you know, this is why we have subcommittees and have sometimes 2 to 3 stops. So I think it is appropriate. It's always nice to know, to have more lead time, but I thought it was appropriate to take a pause. Now, since then, I've discussed these issues with my constituents who are concerned about, for example, technology, Chromebooks, or with a school committee, and I feel like. I now feel like I can support those. I think it would be great in the school committee process to have a planful review of technology. I think that's what we need, but I think it needs to be planful. I don't want to just take away, a year of Chromebooks because I think we remember the inequity actually when if you do that, then only the wealthier students will have access to this technology. And also, so for a lot of reasons, I think it's a very compelling subject, and it needs to be handled and unpacked carefully. And I really hope that the school committee starts a process or continues the process they are on reviewing how we can, if and how we can minimize technology and how we can, and what that would look like. So, I'm going to support the capital for that, and the same with the whole, it's I hear there's a different interpretation of the charter. We're kind of in process now, but before fall, that is, if the school committee wants to review that, I think that's appropriate. But at this point, I'm going to support the orders that have been brought forth because from what I've learned since the meeting, there's various reasons why that's important to do so. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, great. Councilor Davis. Can you?
Hi. What I wanted to say was very similar to what you were just saying, Councilor Mayari, but I think the role of the school committee is to be on this issue. And so I would defer to them on this. But I definitely know, just as an educator myself, that I never use technology nearly as much as many of my colleagues because I really preferred person-to-person, talking together, hands-on kind of education, and that I think that there would be other ways to use technology without such reliance on it. But the purview of the city council is not to make those decisions. I take off my school committee hat, and that's for them and the educators. And right now, that's what they were saying that they needed. And I remember on the SIP advisory committee, there were a compelling presentation about the terrible condition of those Chromebooks and how if they're going to be useful, they need to be in good condition and have good ones. So I would support this as well.
Councilor Robbins.
The order here, to me, is makes it difficult to respond to because it really is quite a list of items, and they're from different departments and for different purposes. And I wonder if it would be easier to have discussions and to pass things if we could see orders that, for example, if they're for the Northampton Public Schools directly, that's one order. If they're for ITS City, that's an order. ITS NPS would be an order. I'm not sure why Fire Rescue and Planning Sustainability and DPW are on here. And that makes it difficult to really be able to have a discussion about the order in general and the order in specifics of what are on there, because there are items on here that clearly could wait. There's not a rush for it. If Ms. Dell says we need a refrigerator freezer, then we need a refrigerator freezer. You know that that's up there. And the discussion about the other pieces, I still reserve the right of the school committee to be the ones making those decisions. But I don't want to uphold the rest of these important components to it. And it's a little bit of a mystery about how we, in good faith, go forward with saying there's some things that seem to be compellingly in front of us and we need to be able to approve it and go on, and some that we would like to be able to have a group that are more expert at it that could have the input that would require being able to fund them and the best use of those funds.
Okay. Councilor Stratton.
So, I think the order that things were brought, the organization that things were brought to us was really based on funding source. And, from a looking at the totals of money, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I would agree with my colleague that it doesn't really put us in a very good position to do our job as a council of considering these things, in their specifics. And particularly, under the charter, the school committee is really a co-equal body with the city council. The only way that we were really over them is the power to sort of veto their appropriations. So, I'm really not comfortable voting on capital items in the school that the school committee has not weighed in on officially yet. I've heard different things from different members of the school committee, and some of them have very serious concerns about some of these items. Others are, more ready to move ahead, but that body has not spoken as a public body by its process of voting on things. And what I would like to propose that we do is that we take this item and, as we have sometimes in the past, that we split it into multiple pieces. And I have a proposed split here in front of me into actually 3 pieces.
Point of order. I wish we could keep talking about it before we get that specific.
I
I'm not ready to talk about splitting it.
Okay, but
I mean-
he's making I think he's making a motion. Are you making a motion?
I am
Or maybe
proposing
he's
an
not making a
idea, and
But-
I'm sure we could keep talking about it before we get to the specifics.
I mean, I feel like I'd like to hear what people think about it in general before we talk about potentially breaking it up. I feel like that short circuits the bigger conversation.
Okay. Yes.
I really would love to have a clarification of thank you for, I know you wanted to have that statement. My understanding is if I make a point of order, I'm asking you to grant that to me first before I speak to whoever it is, or clarify to you what the point of order is. And that if it's with what Chris has just said, it wouldn't be directly to him. And maybe I'm interpreting that wrong. That's just been my past experience.
I thought she was addressing me. Did you? Oh.
Okay, but so do I address you to say there's a point of
Yeah.
order and then wait for you to say, okay, go ahead and do what you do, or do I just stop Chris talking and then say it?
It's an interruptible point, so you can interrupt a speaker for a point of order.
But it could also not do that. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we're continuing. Yes, Councillor Stratton?
Yeah, so, splitting an order is something that's happened before. I think there was an order that had a bunch of vehicles in it, and one category was a police car, and somebody wanted that split out, so that was done. But I'm not meaning to say that we have to do this minute. Let's keep talking about this. And on the point of order thing, I think that the point of order interrupts the speaker, but the statement of the point is addressed to the chair.
Right. Isn't that what I said? Oh, okay. Yes. Did Councilor Loiza, did you or anyone else?
So I just feel that we all got an email from the vice chair of the school committee saying, please pass this. I respect
Point
her.
of information?
Okay. What point of information? Yes. What's your point of information?
Was the vice chair of the school committee speaking for the body or speaking for herself?
I don't know, but I think she's a legitimate person who reached out to us. And I have more things to say, so if I could keep talking.
Can I just answer that question, or do you want to carry on?
I didn't ask the question.
Yeah, we can circle back, but
I didn't ask that question, so.
Okay.
So these are things the schools need and other departments need. And I feel like there's obstructionism happening here, and these are not, these are what I call meat and potato things. And I don't see why we are micromanaging this. And it satisfied me to get a note today, an email that's sent to all of us from the vice chair of the school committee saying, please do this. And also, a couple of these things were on the school committees voted on mid-year appropriation requests that were taken off and put on the capital budget. And I feel like the mayor did that in good faith, knowing that that's what the school committee wanted. So this constant questioning is, I think, kind of destructive and not helpful.
Okay. I wanted to offer, I wanted to also chime in about the process, but let's continue with the depth. No, it's okay. We had decided we were going to wait on it, so I just want to make a point about.
Let me just answer the
how to
first
do this.
question, which is, I had the same question, Lori, and I contacted the vice chair of the school committee and asked, was this from your role as the vice chair of the school committee, and was there a vote on this by the body? Because I read it the same way that you did. And she clarified for me that no, it was just her personal opinion. So I checked in with other members of the school committee who had different opinions and agreed they had not met as a body, they have not discussed it, they have not come to any conclusion about that. So just to clarify that piece of it. And I'm also going to say I'm disheartened to hear. I hear what you're saying about your feeling like that's negative. I feel like it's part of the democratic process. We have these discussions. I get to say what I'm thinking and doing, and you get to say what you're thinking and doing. And if there's micromanaging, in my perspective, it's us to the school committee. And you're seeing it as a different perspective is fine, and I'm hearing you in that. But I think the legitimate discussion and the debate is part of what we're, that's our, what we're elected to do. And I'm sorry, I'm comfortable with it, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable with it, but I do feel like that's why we're here.
I think that, can I respond? My point is that I feel like the mayor put some of those things in good faith based on what the school committee told her. And I don't really feel that questioning these things that the schools need is helpful right now. I mean, they need these things. It seems performative to me that you're making an issue of it.
I just want to respond quickly. Okay. Just to clarify, the items that are on here are items that were submitted in a pretty quick turnaround by the school committee. And I think if we had, been watching those sessions, that new committee really didn't know how to do what they were doing. And so they grabbed stuff off last year, they grabbed stuff off this year, they put it all on a list. And it was probably in very good heart that the mayor pulled it off and put it on this next list. But it didn't go back to the school committee again to say, is that what you would like to see on this list, which is a fairly simple conversation.
So you wanted us to approve that appropriation, even though you're now saying that they didn't really know what they were doing.
Okay. I think there's a lot of back and forth, so I'm going to go back to Counselor Clemmer and then Counselor Stratton.
Thank you. Yeah, I have
Or
a few
anyone else.
things here. So as I said, in finance at the beginning of this discussion, Member Jewell requested these items for the mid-year appropriation. She alone wrote us that email before the Finance Committee, it was like 2 hours before, requesting that we don't approve a list of items, including the 2 items she thought we needed for the mid-year appropriation. So Member Jewell acted alone. She didn't act as as a voice of the entire school committee. So, so I don't know what the difference is with the vice chair of the school committee making this request today, because I feel she spoke to people about it, and it's a request from the principals. It's not just, the school committee doesn't make these kind of requests. The principals do. At the request of Dr. Bonner or whoever will take her place next year, she asked the principals to request what they feel is needed. That list has gone through too. It's not. I don't believe the mayor and Director Nardi or Bobby just passes everything too. They pare it down to what's really needed. And also, I'm member. Bartoli, Aileen, she wrote the letter. She said she based it on Councilor Stratton's request to proceed with all school-related capital requests. So I'm just confused that now Member Stratton wants to pick it apart because
Point of order.
the whole thing is based
Wait,
on.
yeah. What's your point of
request.
order?
I mean, allegations are being made that have no basis in fact. I think my colleague is
That's not a
confused.
point of order.
I
will-
understand.
No, I'll give you we'll let you respond. I understand that makes you want to respond, and I will give you a chance to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, it just says it here that it's your request, and then I didn't get to look at the very detailed spreadsheet that you made, but she forwarded that to all of us too. And I agree, it's like they need these items. They feel they're important for the schools. I don't feel it's our place to not approve them.
Okay, so I'm going to, Counselor Stratton, I'm going back to you for the response, and then I'm going to go to Counselor Nabad because we need to go to speakers who haven't spoken, but because you would like to respond directly to that, I'll let you.
Well, I certainly did not receive any email from Member Jewell today on that subject.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
No, Councilor Stratton, it was.
You're trying to escape out the window?
Just stay here.
I have no idea what you said.
Oh, it wasn't from Member Jewell. Member Jewell sent us just the Finance Committee, so you probably haven't gotten that one. But then today, Alina the vice chair of the school committee, sent us an email asking us to approve it based on what you said to her and a spreadsheet that you sent to her. The spreadsheet's not yours?
I'm sorry. I asked each committee member individually their opinion. Unfortunately, and then forwarding that back, which had one small observation of opinion at the end, I believe that is created a constructive open meeting law violation, because I can perfectly legally email the school committee members because I'm not a school committee member. But intermediary deliberation is illegal, and if they then forward that back, that actually does violate the law. If it's a member of the public who does it, there's nothing we can do. But members of the school committee, should understand open meeting law and that intermediary
information.
deliberation is illegal. However, that is not.
Okay, wait,
that's
wait.
part of it.
There's a point of information. Yes.
I could swear when I saw that email of Counselor Stratton's that it was from his government email. So that would be public.
Okay.
Yes,
well,
thank you.
But I can say things to the public that I cannot say to my colleagues outside of a meeting.
Okay.
And I had asked school committee members a question. In forwarding that back to all of you, they effectively played the intermediary in an illegal outside of a meeting deliberation between this council.
All right, let's stick to, we don't have any solicitor here, so let's stick to this item. Councilor Nabat and Councilor Dobbs, you both had your hands up previously. Did you have something else besides that you wanted to say? Okay.
I'm okay, actually. I was just going to corroborate what Councilor Clement was saying, because it seemed like Councilor Stratton was disagreeing with what the email said, and so I was just corroborating that I read the same email that referenced what Councilor Stratton, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Councilor Stratton.
So I would like to speak to the actual topic now. A little bit earlier this evening, my colleague, Councilor Loisel, wondered if the school committee was spending money the way it needed to be spent. And, obviously she was referring to the recurring budget at that point, but I think the question is equally valid here. And quite literally, the school committee is not spending this money. We would be, the mayor, the superintendent, building principals, but the reason we have a school committee is to review and approve decisions like this, and they haven't had a chance to do that. With regard to the mid-year appropriation, I had a conversation with Member Jewell around lunchtime that day, and I basically just said, I hope you will support the mid-year appropriation before the school committee. And she said, I'm actually working on something, and she sent me a list. That list was different than the list that was then presented that afternoon. The list that was presented in the meeting was much heavier on one-time capital items and lighter on staffing. People need to understand how rushed that school committee meeting was. I mean, they gave themselves like 90 minutes or something, if even, to accomplish the whole task. And so, and other members of the school committee did not know, they'd not seen Member Jewell's original list, because that would be an open meeting law constructive violation for me to forward that to them. And they had not seen the list that was actually presented in the meeting. So they were having to, basically say, do we want the money or not, on very, very short notice. Additionally, when we put money into the school budget, or when we add to the school budget in a mid-year appropriation, we are sending them money. The school committee, under the law, has the right to decide how they're actually going to use that money. So we could say, in the mid-year appropriation, we're giving you money for Chromebooks, and they could go and hire a gym teacher instead. That is their legal power. In contrast, tonight, when we approve a financial order, we are spending money on that specific item. We're not giving money to the school committee to use under their oversight. We are saying, we are buying Chromebooks. That's what the money's for. And when we do that as a council on an item that the school committee is not weighed in on as a body, we've heard different personal individual opinions, but the body has not spoken. We are usurping the job of our sibling branch of government.
Okay, I would like to just chime in and say I definitely would like some clarification before next fall on this, on the reading of the charter. But at this point, that isn't the process as we know it. Mayor, did you have something you wanted to? Oh. So that's where I'm at, is that I hear this and it sounds like there's some difference of opinion, and we definitely need this clarified. But at this point, there's no, in terms of how we understand this process to go, nothing has been usurped. If we find out that that's not true, if we find out that the charter is being read the wrong way, then we should, obviously pivot. But that's not where we're at right now. This is our process as it is now. And I'm happy to hear a review of that process before we go through it again in the fall. But that's where we are right now.
So,
Would you say? Okay, yes, Councillor Clemmer. Make sure I don't miss.
Yeah, I was going to, just to back what you said, I understand that the school committee doesn't get to, it's not their purview to review all these items. But it would be good to have clarification too. And if they do want to change it, I think Member Martin alluded to that tonight. So, but that's their wheelhouse. I'm just, as far as Member Jewell not putting this information out for the mid-year appropriation or the ask on whatever, for the Finance Committee, Member Stein put his ask for the mid-year appropriation on Facebook. So, that's not a way to do business either. And I don't understand why Councilor Stratton is advising Member Jewell on school committee issues and their finance issues. So that's that.
Okay. Just make, Councilor, oh, yes, you had your hand up before.
Yeah, well, I'm hesitating a little bit because I think I've heard from you, Council President, that you don't want to have more of a discussion around this, but I have something to offer on this topic, which doesn't preclude us from having more of a discussion later. But, so according to Mass General Law, the school committee may be responsible for expenditures for school buildings and grounds made from the regular appropriation for the school department. So that means within the operating budget of the school. So these capital expenditures are outside of the operating budget for the school. They are one-time funds, and so they're not part of the general fund. I will say, I find this all a little bit ironic because one of the reasons we try and put so many school projects in the SIP is that I've tried to relieve pressure on the operating budget of the school by encouraging the school department to request more items as capital that they would have had to make work within their operating budget. So that's, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Councillor Stratton.
Yes, I would actually like to thank the mayor for that point because I think it's an important one. And so, indeed, when we put money into the school operating budget, the school committee is responsible for spending it. When we do a capital, direct capital spending like this, we bypass the school committee. I'm not saying that's illegal. I'm basically saying it is disrespectful to the role of the school committee to cut them out of this. And the mayor just said, I appreciate the generosity of including a lot of things in the SIP, for the schools in the SIPs. I do appreciate it. But I want to be clear that the mayor just said when the school department asks for things, and these asks came from the school department around the school committee. These have not come to us through the school committee because the school committee has not yet considered and voted on these as a body. And that's a key distinction. I appreciate the generosity for the school committee. It may be that, for the schools, it may be that these are great things and I will happily vote for them because, I appreciate we're putting money into the schools. But my, respect for my colleagues in government in those other set of meetings that happen on the other Thursdays, I need to hear from them officially as a body and not just random emails from different people.
Okay, yes.
Just make one more point. I apologize. So again, as you heard, I think Member Martin went through what the jurisdiction of the school committee is, right? So it's hiring the superintendent and supervising the superintendent. It's creating policy and it's approving the budget. So if they would like to know more about the SIP, that's great. There has always been a school committee member on the advisory committee. they could at any time spend time talking to the school committee about what they learned during that process and about these projects. They're not the facilities manager for the schools. They're not in the schools. They don't know what equipment is needed. So if they would like to know about the projects, that's great. I think that's fine. And I'm happy to, I mean, it's not my job. They should work with the next superintendent to figure out how to build in the time to talk about the projects that the superintendent and Tony Kuznieres are going to bring forward for the SIP, but they don't decide what's on the SIP.
Thank you. Counselor Perry.
Yes, I just want to just note that we spent a lot of time talking about what we think the school committee should do or what they can do. And I think when we talk about respect, I think that the school committee are adults. They're grown people. It is respectful to allow them to come forward and again, learn about what's happening. To sit here and try and say that we know what everybody's thoughts are is very difficult for me. Because our job as city council is to be here together and work on things. So I just want to get us to refocus. We've spent a lot of this meeting talking about another elected body here. And so personally, I'm ready to move on and move these much needed capital improvement projects, but I'm open to hearing what other people have to say. But.
Okay.
I
Mayor.
apologize. Can I make one more quick point? So as has already been talked about, a couple of these items that came from the school committee, they voted and asked me to bring to you to fund. But some of these other items are things that, so again, the SIP, the projects are, the finance director asked the departments to submit their projects at the end of August, September. And so some of these things, because I'm on the school committee and was on the school committee last term, are things that had been talked about at different times. But and I should of course note, Counselor Davis as well was on the school committee. So it's not that some of these things are maybe things that they hadn't talked about, but there are some other things on here that had been part of other school committee conversations. It's not this school committee, but work happened before this term and work will happen after this term. There's just a lot of turnover on the school committee.
Thank you. Counselor Loisel, and yeah.
Yeah, I also would like to vote soon, and I don't want to separate these out, but I do want to say I really like the idea of passing these so that the school can not have to spend any of their operating budget on these items. So I think that's why I want to do it. And I do not think this process is disrespectful. It's the process. It's the process. It's not disrespectful. What I think is disrespectful is both of you saying that the school committee didn't really know what they were doing.
Okay. I'd like to, I don't want us to go over points we've already made. So if you have a new point to make, Counselor Stratton, then go ahead.
So the school committee has not spoken on this topic yet. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
There was a school committee member, two school committees on the capital improvement committee, yes, but the school committee just spent Monday night tying themselves into knots over who has a right to speak for the body. So, two random members chosen by the mayor cannot speak for the body.
Okay, we're getting off topic.
They've received information, but they have not had an opportunity to speak. They're struggling to get their work done in the time of their meetings. So yes, they've known about things, but they haven't actually voted
Counselor Stratton, I would like us to circle back to the item that to the financial order. Okay. Anyone who hasn't spoken? And yeah. And then we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Clemmer, seconded by Councilor Loisel. Roll call on that.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
No.
Counselor Stratton.
No.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
And Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
7-2.
So, okay, right, we need 6, so we got 7. Okay, so that passes. Moving on to, yes, so we want to do a revote on 26.037 out of a abundance of caution in order to reprogram the 914,355 35 unexpended bond proceeds for the DPW cold storage facility that's going to be at the Locust Street location.
So can I ask a question? Is the idea behind this, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Well, I think they're wondering why we aren't moving on to the rest of the
Oh.
CIP order.
Thank you, sorry.
I don't know if anybody went
I'm out of order, you're right. I'm out of order. Literally out of order, yeah. Okay, right, I did, yeah. Is that what you were going to, yeah, okay.
No, that isn't.
Oh, okay. Okay, but thank you for keeping us on task. I think I got, okay, so,
Unless you wanted, you deliberately, you wanted to go.
no, that's okay. So, no, it's okay. I don't. So that's, so that was on 26.022. Now we're on to 26.025. In order to appropriate 1.35 million from capital stabilization to various capital projects. Let me pull that up. Okay, I'm just going to pull it up.
So can I clarify something?
Yes.
The rest of these things were all discussed at Finance, and Finance has recommended them.
Yes, and you can move items as a group if that's the appetite.
I'd like to do that.
Okay. So you were looking to, so your motion is to move 26.2025 to 26.033 as a group for approval?
Yeah, I mean, if the Finance Committee considered these and is recommending them, that's great. I would like to move them as a group.
Is there a second? Okay, so.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Loisel, seconded by Councilor Nabad. And so that motion is, did everyone understand that that's the motion to move these as a group from A to G? I'm sorry, to B to G. So any discussion before we do a roll call? Yes.
I'm glad that we talked about these in finance and passed them through, but to me, this is the public body where we bring that discussion forward and we perhaps explore a little bit more deeply, and there's maybe a couple of more questions, which doesn't really impede the progress of going through it. It just means that we give it due diligence in terms of a second reading. And there are a couple of items here I would love to be able to ask a couple of questions about.
I'll just say that, in terms of our use of our department heads, it's good if we could find either first reading, a subcommittee, or second reading to have questions answered, and to have more substantive conversations. Yeah.
I wish my brain worked like that, but the more I think about it, when I do a little bit more thinking about it and exploring it, it comes up with a question or two after that. And I think it's, when we pass things through as a body, this is the time when more folks are paying attention, and I think they have a right to sort of hear what that discussion is around then too. It doesn't uphold the process, it just gives it a tiny little bit more depth. And there are a lot of items on here. It was a big agenda.
Okay. Any other? Yep. I'm just looking for. Yeah. Councillor Clemmer?
Yeah, I'm just confused because we brought all this stuff at your request, Councillor Robbins. You wanted to bring everything, all 14 items, but we narrowed it down to these 7 to Finance Committee, and there was opportunities to ask questions, and that's where we have time to discuss things. And Director Nardi was there, and the mayor was there, and nobody had anything to say. Nobody said a peep about any of the items, and so I'm just surprised now you have questions, and we could have discussed them in great detail then, because it was a small group, and that's what the committees are for. So what's the point of referring things if we're not going to use the time to, why are we using the time if nobody's going to talk about it? But then now, we could have brought that information that we found out at Finance to the full council, which is the way things work. I feel like we wasted time at the Finance meeting because, except for it was just passing everything through.
Okay, Counselor Perry.
I just want to say to Councilor Robbins' point is that trying to make a motion to move things as a group doesn't mean you cannot take out an item. You still have the right to ask your questions and deliberate. So I don't see how this stops you from getting your things asked. So in terms of our process and having due diligence, you have all that power. So
Good point.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, just agreeing with you. Counselor Stratton.
So on that note precisely, I would like to ask my colleagues that we take item C, 26.026 distinctly, but I think for efficiency, we could treat some of the rest of these as a batch, in my personal opinion. So that would be C, 26026, City Hall roof.
Well, we have a motion on the floor that we would all have to agree to withdraw if we were going to do that. Yes.
The little note.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, was there a second? If not, I will second it.
Oh.
So it's my understanding, just because you're moving something as a group doesn't mean that you can't ask questions on anything in the stack.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah, you can ask, yeah, certainly questions, you can ask any questions. Counselor Perry, what did you say? You were going to.
I just got confused. I couldn't.
No, it's okay.
Councilor Loisel started making the
Right.
motion, but
We actually do have a motion on the floor to approve.
was it seconded? Yes.
Yes, it was, but we are, but we can discuss any of those items. Or ask questions if we have any before we vote on that motion. Yes, Councilor Stratton.
Well, let me consider the City Hall roof in the context of everything then. Member Martin had a wonderful comment in one of her slides that said, we need to be as creative as a third grade teacher who has limited access to resources for books and tissues and markers. Our city does not have enough money to do everything that we want to do, everything that we need to do, in truth. And I would like to see us being more creative about how we fund things. Participatory budgeting was brought up as well. Well, we have participatory budgeting in a very sort of weird way, which is the Community Preservation Act, which in many ways is a kind of an oddball past override. And, overrides stay with us. We keep collecting that money. This has created a special funding stream that we can only use in certain ways. One of those ways is historic preservation, and City Hall, not this building, sorry, is a historic structure which has received CPA money in the past. Now, I understand that the most recent time that Central Services went to the CPA committee, kind of with an ask, they were kind of told no. But I would really like to see that ask made again, because I think using the funding streams we have in ways that are legal, that may, allow us to accomplish needed projects with restricted money, that then frees up unrestricted money to use for other priorities in the city, I'm very interested in that. To treat this specifically in a way that we could tonight, what I'm going to propose is that we amend, what is the order for that one? Is it 022 or 026? 26.026.
Yeah.
By reducing the appropriation to $150,000, which is the ask in the portion of the ask that is for design services, so that would allow the project to get started, on the design work, and then the recommendation that they bring a fall round CPA project for the rest. If that doesn't make it through the CPA, then maybe we have to use unrestricted money on it. But I would really like to see us try to more creatively use the money that our residents are paying us in ways that allow us to better address our overall civic priorities. So I'm moving to amend the order by reducing the amount to $150,000 for the design services.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor right now, though, so.
Yeah, but that is the main motion, and an amendment is, I'm sorry, was the motion on the floor to combine or was it to pass?
A motion was to approve 26.025 through 26.033.
So we have a motion on the floor, which is when an amendment is timely.
Oh, are you amending? You're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm moving to amend 26.026 to reduce the appropriation to the $150,000 design services ask rather than the complete total, which was $1.8 million.
I thought you were just making a separate motion. So you're amending. Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I just want to note that Director Deppen is on Zoom.
Okay. Let me find.
So is this the point where we talk about the amendment?
Yes, but we did, I wanted to let, is she unmuted? Director Deppen, let me find you and unmute you.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Do you guys have specific questions, or Mayor, would you kind of like me to speak to what has been presented so far?
Katie, I guess if you could speak to, maybe, so I don't know if you heard what Councilor Stratton is proposing, but he wants to just wants to reduce this to $150,000 for design, and then have you go back to the CPC. But could you talk a little bit about the process you already went through with the CPC and what this would do for the timeline? Thank you.
Sure. So I'll first go ahead and give context. So we already are in design. We completed a 60% construction document, basically this past summer in July, to move forward on doing the roof, and we completed a cost estimate. A cost estimate at that time exceeded the value in which we had appropriated for the roof, which we discussed in the last meeting, which was roughly $43,000. We have spent $10,000 of that roughly so far on design with Dietz Architects. When we came to that point with the cost estimate where it was, we tried to look at reevaluating the project in of itself. Like you said, being creative, looking at other viewpoints. As discussed in the prior meeting as well, we brought up that the exterior repairs for the City Hall, that was appropriated back in 2024. That project was never completed. So we're trying to be strategic in ways of thinking, should we combine these projects where we're going to save in soft costs and mobilizations? So going through that process too, as I had mentioned, you run into code conflictions, specifically 521 CMR, where there's a 30% threshold on your assessed value of your building when you complete a construction project. Basically, we're at that point where even doing this roof is basically going to trigger that we have to bring that building into full compliancy. That alone is minimally going to be a significant amount of money. So the reason we changed the request to begin up to 1.8 million is because we now are having to take into consideration if we cannot shrink this down and potentially through a variance, we're going to have to spend money on doing interior compliances just in order to replace the roof. So as the mayor had mentioned too, for the roof and the staging we're at, and the reason that we already are at the design process we're at is because the roof is in need of repair. It's not something we can actually wait another year or 2 years on. It needs to get done. If you see the drone footage of the top of that building, it's probably actually actively leaking, and that's why we're requesting that funding.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Loisel and then Councillor Robbins.
So, Director Deppen, I see that in the, whatever this sheet is that where you explain the need for the project, you talk about what is the impact of not funding in the chosen year. So it says continued weather exposure and deterioration will lead to increased maintenance costs and potential structural issues, water infiltration, which means that the building is leaking. Is that right?
Potentially, yes. There's brand new insulation that is in the attic space. So if leaking is occurring, it's evaporating at the same frequency.
Okay, so basically, you're trying to do this in order to preserve the building, in order to prevent future costs.
Correct.
Okay, that sounds really like a great idea.
Okay, Director Nardi and Council Rob. Director Nardi, did you have a point to make about
I
that?
just wanted to clarify, so the reduction to $150,000 is to borrow $150,000? The order's to borrow $1.8 million, so you're reducing it to $150,000 to borrow.
Do you want to think about that while we go to Council Robbins, or do you? Okay.
So one of the other questions, Director Deppen, was whether or not this project had had an application to the CPA and to see if it was eligible for funding from that source.
Correct. So CPA, as mentioned, we have applied in the past. CPA, there's certain timelines in which you can apply for the projects. Specifically for this roof project, we are based off of this funding. We are actually trying to get this project out to bid within basically a month. That way, we can, if possible, we can get a contractor on site this summer. I will just say, with my time coming to the department and getting on board with this project, the timing of being able to apply CPA really was not applicable at the moment. That does not say that it is not an avenue in which we will not look at. We will look at going for other projects within City Hall. There is this roof, but there's many other projects within that building and structure in which CPA would be a great resource for, that we will look into. It's just the timing of it is not ideal specifically for this project.
So are they taking applications now? You can't apply for it after you've started the project. It's got to be pre-project?
Let's see. We're in March. It's April. We probably, I'm not going to say we could not apply now, but either way, we would still have to have the appropriation in place if we were not to have the CPA to happen. So we could very well try to put an application in for this, but we would still need an appropriation now to ensure that the project can get completed. If we were to apply for CPA and in hopes that we would get it, and then to find we don't have it, then we will be delaying ourselves an additional year for completing that replacement.
So can I just finish up? So that, if I know you have your hands full, but it would seem like that would be a great recommended avenue. And then if there were funds after that with the borrowing, that could be reprogrammed to the additional monies, possibly with Memorial Hall as well, couldn't it? Maybe? So if you got a CPA grant that filled some of what you need for the City Hall roof, and you had additional money in that borrowed money, you could reprogram it elsewhere.
Potentially. Like I said, there's more work to happen within City Hall than just the roof itself.
Okay, Councilor Nabad.
I don't know how relevant this is, but I do want to say, the Community Preservation Act is very specific in what cities and towns can use it for funding. And I recently have heard that some criticism that some communities are actually using their CPA funding for capital improvements that really should be dedicated, and they are, because they are by law, dedicated to very specific projects. That I think that's what, I'm pretty sure that's what Katie is saying, is that there would be more specific, very, very appropriate projects that wouldn't make sense to borrow for. And of course, this is a borrowing, and so, thanks.
Thanks, Counselor. And I just want to say that I appreciate Counselor Stratton, the kind of thinking outside the box and creative problem solving around funding. I just don't think in this case, I've never seen the CPC reconsider the same item, but I think the risk is too great, and I think it's something that we've been talking about actually since last term, and we need to move on. But I do appreciate what you're saying about thinking about different funding streams. Yes, Councillor Stratton.
So I would actually really like to thank Director Deppen because she brought up a very good point. And I'm thinking of the example of the expansion of the conservation area in Ward 6, the Mineral Hills South sort of expanding west in the land that we're going to be buying. And there was a sort of a backup appropriation that went through the council that was to make it possible to start into that. And then it was replaced with a state grant and a CPA award. So that's actually an example of kind of what she just mentioned. So the possibility, I'm hesitant, but approving this and then trying to get, partial CPA money for it. To Councilor Nabad's point, historic preservation is one of the allowed uses. And if a building doesn't have an intact roof on it, the whole building begins to decay. So it's quite literally preserving the building. And the City Hall has received CPA money in the past. I believe it is strongly applicable. In terms of, I had not noticed that it was borrowing, and I think there's a hint in that question of it's difficult to bond only $150,000. Also, the total for this really is the previous 640 plus the 1.8 million. It's a $2.4 million project. In the previous 640, you actually have the money for the design. However, I want to be really clear. I am not objecting to the project, and I'm not objecting to the price tag. And I'm really excited, actually, that by the time we put threshold money into it, we have to fix the accessibility issues in City Hall. It's an old building. It has some issues. So I'm very much in favor of this. I'm just asking us to be creative about how we pay for it and to be creative about how we best use all of people's money that flows into this room. But I'm warming to this idea of, putting in the coverage appropriation and then trying again with the CPA committee. I will also say that the spring round is closed. I know this because I was working on a little project we couldn't get together for the deadline. But there is something called an extraordinary application in the CPA that is an off-schedule application. And it's a fairly light spring round. So that is a pathway that I would like to see pursued. Back to others.
Okay. Well, we do have, I would like to move this along. We do have an amendment. I believe we need to vote on the amendment first and then.
Do you want to withdraw your amendment?
We'd have to vote on withdrawal.
We didn't vote on it, so.
Well, right. I guess if there's no objection, we could go. No, I guess the idea is that we all own. It was seconded, so it's on the floor, and we all kind of own that. So to withdraw it, we'd all have to kind of make sure there's no objection.
Well, I think the most important thing would be the sponsor and the second, and then if they, and I don't, given the discussion, I thought maybe things had changed.
Yeah, we can just vote on it too, if you'd like.
All right.
Okay. But did you, Councillor Perry, or did you have something else you wanted to say before we did that? You both had your hand up.
I'm ready to move on this, but I do want to say, again, Councilor Stratton, I like the idea of thinking outside of the box, and I do want to recognize our Director of Central Services and many departments of trying to utilize the resources we have. So as she had stated, if you look at the drone footage, so we've been using the drones from the police department to save money. There are ways in which our city is being creative. So I just wanted to note that because not a lot of our citizens and folks know that. And I think it's really inspiring to see the various ways, not just in this room, but every day that our departments are looking to be creative and save us money.
Thank you.
So
Councilor Loisel, yes.
Yes. So I just wanted to say I read this the SIP book, and it talks about guidelines for funding, and then it talks about funding sources. And these guidelines came from previous administration. They've been tinkered with, but they're really solid. And then I feel like I don't want to micromanage department heads and the finance director because that they are looking for the best possible way to fund these things that are necessary. And I think they're quite creative. And so I just feel like if we want to know how they make their decisions, it's in this book.
Okay. Let's vote. Did you have your hand up? Okay. Let's vote. Did you have a process about your?
Yeah, I would real quickly observe that CPA money actually is mentioned in the preface of the SIP, but I'm not going to move to withdraw my motion, but I will, shall we say, consent to it.
Okay, so then we will not vote on the amendment. So now we're back to the original motion, which is to move for approval 26.025 through 26.033. That's what's on the floor and been seconded. Let's do a roll call on that.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
No.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dubbs,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
and Counselor Loizette.
Yes.
Okay, so that does pass. That does pass. And we are on to,
Can we take a quick break, please?
sure, yep. Let's see. It is 9:04. It always takes 10 minutes to get for the women's room to circulate. So let's say 10:14. Welcome back to the Northampton City Council. We're just waiting a moment to let our admin return. Okay, why we wait? Yeah, exactly. We need that ukulele. Yeah. Okay, we're going to be, while we wait for everyone to get settled, we're going to be moving on to, let's see where we are, financial orders and second reading continued. And then on to ordinances. We're having to wait. So we can probably start and she'll be. Yeah. Okay, so you all saw the process note for, okay. Good. Yeah, let's wait, I think, let's just wait 1 second before we actually get into a deep discussion about it. 11. Oh, hopefully not. Yeah, take your time. Okay. So, Councillor Loisel, we were
So
gonna
we're
discuss
just
26.037. Yes.
Yeah. So we just need to vote again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we vote again and we don't suspend the rules, then it's a first reading, right?
No, this
Oh.
this would be our second.
Okay,
reading.
okay.
Yep. Yep. Councillor Stratton.
So I'd just like to say that, you know, I was objecting to this last time, and I was very specific that my objection was to the process of suspending the rules and taking up something that we'd really only had for 2.5 days, and not to the project itself. So while I was opposed to it last time, now that we get to revote after the customary amount of time that we would normally have a financial order, I'm prepared to support this.
Okay. Any, Councillor Robbins.
And this is to Director Nardi. So a question that I didn't get to ask last time was, if this has been sitting since 2019, did we pay interest on this, or did we, I mean, was?
So yes, so when you borrow money, it should be put in a non-interest bearing account. So we have had to have conversations with our financial advisors about that.
Yep. Oh, my camera's-
Now? Or in the past? I'm just curious if it was sort of parked for a long time. We were paying forward on what we had borrowed?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were paying the borrowing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do you know how much that was on the original amount?
How much we actually borrowed?
How much we paid on the bond?
I don't have the sheet with me, but I can get that for you.
Okay, it just, that was my only question. Thank you.
So I'd be looking for a motion.
Yeah. I would say, much like Councilor Stratton, is that I only it was a process thing. I've known how long our director, Liscai, has talked about this, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Clemmer. All right, I'm going to go to a roll call. Roll call on approval.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Dubb.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
And Councillor Maori.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so that passes, and we are moving on to ordinances that need to be referred. And just, you know, as you see, the rule is that provides that no ordinance shall be voted on by the City Council until it has been considered by the Committee on Legislative Matters frankly, I don't know why we vote on something that we're required to refer, but here we are. And so, yes, all of these will have to go to legislative matters. So I entertain a
Motion to refer to legislative matters.
Second
Okay.
that.
Okay, so motion made by Councilor Robbins and seconded by Councilor Dubs. Councilor Perry.
My question, are we moving them all as a group or just?
Oh, yeah, was that your?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I had assumed that, but you didn't say that, so thank you for clarifying. So the motion is to refer 26.038 through 26.043. So that motion's on the floor. Councilor Clemmer was going to speak to some of these because she...
We went over it in great detail in transportation and parking, the March meeting. So just quickly, the ordinance relative one-way stop on Elm Street. There's 5 parking spots on the inbound side of Route 9, and they're being eliminated to improve the sight lines. B is an ordinance relative to bus stop on Elm Street, and coming up Elm on the right side of Route 9 towards town, there's a crosswalk, we don't want people making a right turn through the crosswalk, so they can only turn when there's a green light because they're putting in the 2 sets of stoplights. A lot of this is just cleanup stuff because of the stoplights changes. And C is an ordinance relative to stop signs, clean up old ordinances back from when there was a road in front of the high school. Since there will be a light, you can turn right or left now instead of right turn only. And D is ordinance relative to left turn prohibitions and the putting in lights, so we don't need the stop signs. It's cleanup from the old code for the road in front of the high school. And E is ordinance relative to no right turn on red from Elm Street. And that's shifting it to the other side of the crosswalk. A slight shift to get it to a safer location. And F is ordinance relative to parking on Elm and North Elm Street. It's just cleanup of the code when Elm went directly in front of the high school, when it was a one-way street with high school on the right-hand side and the road doesn't exist anymore. So all this is just in preparation and to fix things so it'll work better.
Okay. Councilor Robbins.
Can I ask legislative, I don't know if this is in your purview or not, but I had a question from a resident about how much the additional cost to this is. I think we had a $500,000 grant towards it, and that was a question I couldn't answer.
Yes, go ahead.
When we spoke about it in transportation parking, it was about $3,000 project. And I believe that's including the $500,000.
Wait, 3,000?
I mean, 3 million.
yeah.
3 million.
So did they elucidate where the funding from that was going to come from?
I can't remember. Director Lascalia's on Zoom, though.
Okay.
I bet you she can answer it.
And I'm happy to wait for legislative to review it and get that back. I just wanted to let you know that I had that question, or legislative.
Well, I have.
Yeah, if she'd like.
I'm not on legislative matters, but I
Okay.
mean, Director Nardi's here. I mean, Lascalia's here, so.
Okay. Let me ask her to unmute. Director Lascalia, can you unmute? Nope. No. Nope. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Councilors. Good evening.
Good evening.
Is the question about the budget for the high school project, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
The question from the resident was that the understanding was there was a $500,000 grant, and where was the additional funding coming from for the installation?
So there's ARPA funds. There's about $1.6 million in ARPA funds, school safety improvement project.
And so is that in addition to the grant?
There is no grant for the high school safety project. I think
they're referring to the Elm Street. Yeah, okay.
I think they may be referring to the Complete Streets grant for a Locust Street.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Councilor Stratton?
Well, I'm curious what the price tag of this project actually is in its revised form, because to my understanding, there was 1.27 million of direct ARPA money, which was appropriated by the mayor's office. The state said that didn't have to go through the city council because it was a use consistent with the grant. And then there was 1.6 million in free cash, ordinary free cash, appropriated by the previous council in January a year ago. So that is like 3.1 million. So I'm kind of trying to understand what the total of this project and its funding actually is at this point.
Yep, so you are correct, Counselor. There's a couple of different funding sources. We have a construction contract that's valued at about $1.6 million, and then we have to pay construction administration costs, which will be about 10% of that. And then there will be additional design work for next phases of the project. So our first priority is to spend the ARPA funding because there is a timeline on that. We have to be done by September 30th. So that's the first funding that's going to go. And then we will move on to next steps to expend the additional funding.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Loisel?
Yeah, this is a question because I'm new. I maybe should know, but so there's these ordinance relatives to a stop and the bus stop and the stop signs but there's no ordinance about like installing a light. Do we have to do that?
No, Councilor, we don't. That was actually discussed at the Transportation and Parking Commission. And by our Complete Streets Ordinance, the Transportation and Parking Commission does have to vote to allow a stoplight instead of other features like a roundabout.
Oh, so you mean that's in the purview of transportation and parking? So we don't need to do anything about that?
That's
right?
correct. The
Okay.
council does not vote on traffic signals.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there a motion already?
Yes. There's a motion.
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah,
on the
right.
floor.
Oh,
It might be an old one.
did you have your hand up? Okay. If it's relative to referring.
Well, under council rules, we actually can discuss something when it's introduced. I think I may be putting a question out there to be more answered in legislative matters. But the mention of the ARPA deadline, I mean, there's actually two ARPA deadlines. The September 30th is a surface transportation, the funds must be expended by. There was also the 12/31/24 obligation deadline. And if I can find the right document here, the thing I'm a little confused about is that my understanding is that this project went to bid in like January or February of this year, and we're just at the contract award stage. But under federal law, the definition of obligation at 31 CFR 35.3, under the revised definition of obligation, the term continues to mean an order placed for property and services in entry into contracts, subawards, and similar transactions that require payment. So I know we told the federal government that these funds were obligated, but I'm kind of trying to understand what instrument actually obligated them by 12/31/24 when the contract has only been awarded in recent weeks. And, if that can't be answered tonight, maybe it's an answer for when this comes up in legislative matters.
Okay. Any other comments or questions until we have a motion on the floor to refer these to legislative matters, all the packet. Okay, roll call on a referral.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dubbs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
And Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Okay. So those will go to legislative matters. I think we are up to the resolution, correct? To make sure I'm in the right place. Okay, so this is on second reading, resolution that 26.015, a resolution to adopt the capital improvement program for FY 2027 to FY 2031.
Motion to adopt.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
And by Councilor Robbins, seconded by Councilor Clemmer. So motion's on the floor to adopt. Any comments? Or we? Yes, Councilor Stratton.
Well, I'm going to say to this what I didn't quite get to say to the last batch of financial orders, which is that I personally, first of all, we are missing the charter required cost of ownership information in the SIP. We are also missing the charter required information about past projects, which are still in progress. I also feel very strongly that it's not appropriate to be approving financial orders, and I know we've kind of already voted the money, but the plan that represented them, when we haven't really considered the operating budget yet. And obviously this is a disagreement between the mayor and I. There is a policy of the mayor's office, the financial policy manual, that says that basically funding for capital and funding for recurring items are distinct. That's certainly an argument, but the financial policy manual is a policy of the mayor's office. It is not a policy of the city of Northampton, and that is an important distinction. The city of Northampton is the mayor's office and the city council and the school committee and the voters in entirety. So I am not comfortable approving this resolution because it doesn't satisfy the charter requirements, and I think that it's premature to have considered this without also considering the operating budget at the same time. So I don't think that's an opinion many of my colleagues share, but this will be a no for me.
Thank you. Councilor Robbins?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see this on the table. My understanding is that this is a resolution, and the resolution isn't the voting on the capital improvement program, so it feels like sort of a pro forma thing, and I had checked that earlier, but I had a question as well, too, because in the intro to the capital improvement program, along the same lines as Councilor Stratton said, it's the bottom of page 2, it talks about capital projects may increase future expenses, increase future expenses, decrease future expenses, or maybe cost neutral. The funding of capital projects may fall within available revenues, taxes or fees, or new revenue sources, debt or capital exclusions, but it is important to project the impact the proposed capital project has on the operating budget so that operating budget funding sources can also be identified or new funding sources recommended. So I agree with what Councilor Stratton said in terms of if we don't know what the operating budget is when we're approving the capital projects, we don't know what the impact is going to be on the operating budget. And it would be, to me, it sounds as though this is already in progress for now, but I would love us to be able to consider that as a different process in the upcoming year.
Any other comments or?
Yeah. This capital improvement program document is a aspirational document. It tells us what the 5-year plan is and the roadmap to get there, but at every step of the way, we have to approve the various financial orders to make things happen. And that's a good thing because sometimes things change. I am just really impressed by this. I think that it's a really, I appreciated hearing where the guidelines came from and that they were inherited by this administration from previous administrations and then tinkered with, and that it's what is used to guide the decisions. And it does seem to me that a lot of thought goes into how we're going to fund things, and there's no assumptions made. And I believe that our finance decisions are made based on trying to do the best that can be done for our needs in terms of funding projects that have to happen. So I'm just really impressed by this document and the care and thought that goes into it. And it seems like it comes from all the department heads into the mayor's office. So it feels like it is representing, all the city departments.
Mayor.
I'd like to just make sort of a quick point on the process of it. I think I mentioned maybe at the hearing, I remember one of these meetings about the SIP, so how towns do their capital improvement program is often with their budget because it has to go before town meeting, right? So they have a town meeting. So they have to be done at the same time. But I'll note, so the Division of Local Services, part of the DOR, has a capital improvement planning guide, which when you read it is really geared towards capital improvements for towns. It talks with towns and select boards and things like that. But I thought it was interesting that in their section, it says, in preparing the town meeting warrant, it's good practice to set capital budget items apart in their own warrant articles, separate from the main operating budget article. However, the town could also incorporate capital items as part of the omnibus budget, but list them separately as specific appropriations. So even in this, it makes very clear that these are separate expenditures. They're not part of the operating budget. Towns just have to do them at the same time because you have a town meeting where you have to approve all of those appropriations.
Yeah, I would just like to observe that, I completely agree that capital expenses are distinct from recurring expenses. And having a distinct document is great. It helps us keep track of everything. Because I have different beliefs about the, shall we say, fungibility of money than the mayor does, I really want to be considering these things side by side.
Just something I forgot to say, which is that it's my understanding that we do this now so that when things need to go out to bid, there's time to do that. I think that's what we talked about last time, that there's time to put things out to bid before the construction season starts. And it seems like we approve our operating budget, in June. So, I mean, I think we have to do this. It makes sense. It's a way to protect our property and make sure that our employees are driving in safe trucks and all that.
Councillor Stratton.
Yeah, my colleague makes an excellent point, actually. And, Inauguration Day, my sort of game plan was streets and sidewalks. That's the capital thing I'm willing to vote for in January. And it didn't even hit us. I was kind of pleased that it didn't hit us. But, getting some critical stuff out there early, absolutely. I mean, I wish more of the Ward 6 streets were in that list. But, hey, those streets are streets that need to be fixed. And, certainly there are items that we needed to move fast on. We didn't need to move fast on all of this. That's really all I'm saying.
I'm going to chime in and just say, ideally, I agree with you that it would be good to hold the entire, our entire budget, capital and operating in one kind of frame. But I hear the reason, and I think that we can move towards that as much as we can. I do hear what the feedback we've gotten that putting out both those budgets at the same time would be kind of practically more difficult to produce and unpack, and that there's some items that are time sensitive. So, yeah, but I understand what, I understand the concept of what you're saying, Councillor Stratton, that ideally it would be holding all of the taxpayer money in one kind of frame and deciding on priorities would be the ideal. Does anyone have any other comments? We have a motion on the floor to approve this resolution. If not, I will go to roll call. Okay, roll call, please. Thank you.
Councillor Robbins.
Yes.
Councillor Stratton.
No.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Dubbs.
Yes.
Councillor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councillor Loisel.
Yes.
Councillor Maori.
Yes.
Councillor Nabad.
Yes.
And Councillor Perry.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that passes. And we are on to our order, the information request, 26.021, in order to require Mayor Gina Luis-Chiara to provide information on the downtown Complete Streets project, second reading. Okay. Any comments or? Yes, Councilor Clemmer?
Yeah, I mean, like I said last meeting, I don't think this is the way to request this information, and the questions that were asked would take up a lot of time from the city employees, and they're not relevant questions. What I want to know is what's happening now, what's going to happen, and as things happen, and I don't think city council is really the appropriate place for it either. I think a place like community resources where they can really take the hour and a half and ask questions and bring information when there is information to bring. It's, it will come before us when money is needed, and if money is needed, it will come before council, and we'll hear it here. But I just have a real problem with the way this was done, and the heavy-handedness of it, and the mayor did answer. She was going to talk to us, and she said she will talk to us in the future if there is information. And I just, so I will vote no for this.
Counselor Davis.
Yes, I just wanted to say that the mayor will be giving us presentations, and at that time, if there are gaps in information, we can ask questions, and she will offer the answers, I trust. And so I don't think that we needed to have an order like this.
Go ahead, Counselor. Counselor Nabad.
Sure. I definitely think that people want information. I think the public is calling for more information. And I think that it's really important to have that good communication with the public. But at the same time, I thought about this order for a lot. I thought about the possibility of removing some of the questions. I thought about addressing my colleagues and saying, how else can we do this without it being like an order? How could we do this in a more appropriate way? And I don't believe that the mayor is keeping any information from us. I'm not of that belief that, especially because I've been a part of the city meetings, I've been a part of the focus groups that have been conducted. I have heard from people throughout the city as these plans have been being developed since I moved here, and pretty intensively too. So there's nothing that's a surprise to me. Also, because of my own experience in contracting and construction, I know that things can change. For example, what recently came up with the Eversource piping underneath, things happen. Things happen really a lot in old houses, but they also happen a lot in old infrastructure. And so I am not going to be able to vote for this, and I have faith that the mayor will inform us over time. Also, I think another thing is that, another piece of this is that there's so many different moving parts to this project. It's such a big project. It would be like having to compile something with Eversource, having to compile something, with just so many different contractors and people that are involved, that I think it takes a lot more than just this order to get all the information, and maybe over a period of time, as well as I would be so happy to have the public come to community resources to share their thoughts and feelings about this, or any questions that they might have. That's what community resources is for. So for this order tonight, I support the spirit of getting more information, and I'm going to be unable to vote, however, on making requirements on the mayor. Thank you.
Counselor Robbins.
Thank you, and thanks for your feedback. It's always appreciated. I know we heard from a number of residents. My phone was ringing a lot, and there seemed to be some confusion about what this is. And it's not about necessarily progress on the project, which of course we should know, and people want to know that as well. These are specific questions about monetary expenditures and what comes back on the city, that we will, as you say, it will come to us eventually. But people want to know now, and they want to know what we have spent. And I've heard from a lot of folks too that they're a little surprised that we don't actually have a file that says, literally says, Project Picture Main Street on it, that has kept all of the files, as all of us do in our own accounts, and as I'm sure the planning board has done and the DPW has done and the finance department has done, about what we have spent on this project since its inception. And it was a little alarming to hear from some folks that picture of the larger project was absent or not connected with how we're going to pay for it or what's in additional. And if we do need to pay for it, where will the funding come? Very, very simple questions. But that retrospective look back to when we first made expenditures is something that's very much on their minds, and they would like to hear now, given the fact that they've read in the paper, there's some issues with it, and one of the other big questions that's going to come up is the parking garage, and that's going to be a large expenditure when we come down to it. So we can say it's mellow, and we'll wait and we'll hear what the updates are around that. But I don't think we're going to stop hearing from residents about, but what's going to come out of my pocket? What are we not going to be able to pay for that we're not aware of now, and that we're not part of that decision-making going forward about pieces and different pathways into making that happen. And it seemed like a prime time to do that as we're doing our SIP. It's a good time to be able to look at that in a larger setting because, again, we have not, as a council, had that conversation at all about the cost and expenditures of this project outside of the general impression many people have in the city that it's free.
Well, I'm going to, go ahead.
Well, again, I'm on record of saying that I think we do need more information. I agree with Councilor Nabat is that, again, we need to really have updates and things. But a couple things. One is that I've learned, and I may have said this before, that what people think of a government or how it works is very different than the reality. I talked about how when you get elected, you kind of switch over to another side. And I think I mentioned that I learned a lot before I was in government. Just, I'm from DC. My mother worked in government. My father worked for the government as well. And I was still shocked at how behind some things are. Just due to how you get equipment. Your private citizen often has really great computers, but because how you procure for the government is different. As we went to these departments, we learned about different departments trying to collate data. And so sometimes when people think that you have information, we don't. This is something that we talked about as well in the reparations committee, as well as some barriers to services, that we didn't have information that you thought we would have, like how many African Americans were in positions of management, things that the citizens, the regular people think that you just push a button and this computer does these things. Unfortunately, is not how it is. But I am heartened that we are working towards trying to do this. And so I just want to again state that some of this information, it's a people problem. It's a person. Someone has to collate that. We have heard from almost every department that we're trying to do what we can with the people we have. And if we wanted to have someone just spend, you could, I'm pretty sure, hire someone for every department to just do data entry and management. So we could catch up to those things. It's something to wish towards, but I think that right now we don't have that. One of the, moving on from that, is that when I look at this order is that I think of, these aren't the questions that I would ask. There are a number of things that I want to know, and I think that, that is something that it really is off-putting towards me. And as Councilor Nabat said, when you're doing a project like this, I've had the pleasure of managing a lot of things, and the industries that I work in it's always chaos. So you want to do something, and then you lose the lights right before a show happens, or I was in East Hampton the other day, and a venue that I was working at, their ice machine went down. during service. And so, it's hard to know what challenges and where they are, but it's nice to be aware of things as to how they're happening. But I think there's nothing nefarious about issues coming up. So for me, I cannot support this, but I do want to support, again, the spirit of it. And, I'm already on record saying that I think community resources is a great place to have it. We've been doing this work for a number of years. But I also would like to hear what other counselors, what information that they want to get. Because some of these things, it's nice to look in the past, but right now I am very passionate about the future of our city. I've had the pleasure of working with a number of people, not only just downtown, but around the city who, if you own a business, if you're moving here, you can't just keep waiting for a project. You have to move forward with your business plan and prepare yourselves for something that's going to happen. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to get ready for this Picture Main Street thing because maybe all this work will go away. We really have to start thinking towards the future and how we can, find those questions to help us move forward. And every project is not going to be perfect, but really compromise. There's parts in this Picture Main Street that I don't agree with, but that does not mean I'm trying to tear things down. Not that anyone has said they want to tear it down, but I really want us to, when we ask questions, see what the mayor has presented, but then also be really inquisitive about how we can help move this forward and help the city, kind of reunite to make this a better place.
Thank you. Okay. Have you spoken yet? No, okay. Councilor Loisel, and then, no, I meant on this item. So why don't you go, and then I'll go to Councilor Stratt.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to say I have a problem with some of the specific questions. Some of the questions I feel like are really statements of criticism about the project that are dressed up as questions, like, and also they're vague, like what is the annual spending on marketing and public relations since its inception and planning over 2 decades. Now, what is marketing to one person might be public information to another. So I don't think that's clear what that is. Like, we need to share the public information about this project. And so I don't think that is a fair question. And then the other one was, unresolved project challenges. There's challenges in every public infrastructure job. And so, and they're unresolved until they're resolved. And so I don't know, that's sort of vague too. And I think that it just sets up a situation where somebody can be accused of not giving us information because they didn't think it was a serious project challenge. So I think those questions are kind of trick questions. And I also, I can't vote for this resolution either, because I feel like it's really coming from a place of, we don't want this Picture Main Street. That's what it is, pretending to be requesting for information. But I will say that everybody got 20, I've counted them before the meeting, 27 emails saying, I support Picture Main Street, very articulate. I'm just saying that to say that there's a lot of people in the city who support it. There are people who don't support it. I don't know what the breakdown is, but this is a project that's happening. And Mayor, I feel like it would be helpful if we could get information so that people who support this can be ambassadors for it. And, I would want to err on the side of more information. And for example, I don't know how big of a deal this Eversource thing was, but I would have liked to have known that when you found out, because I want to tell people that, this is going to mean a delay. So, I just want to encourage you to err on the side of more information, even if you don't have all the answers. I understand that you wanted to wait and find out, what does this mean? But you can't it's just sort of, that adds to people feeling a sense of mistrust. So I feel like if something happens that's going to delay it, even if you don't know what the solution is or how you're going to figure it out, I would really like it if you could tell us and then say, I'll give you more updates to go from here. So that's just my preference. And it's because, the final thing that I need to say is there's a lot of misinformation about this project, and it gets repeated. And when misinformation gets repeated, people start thinking it's true. And I feel like we need to do the same thing with the accurate information. We need to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, because that's the only way to counter misinformation. And so even if it seems like you've said it all before, you might need to say it again. And we all want to help you. I mean, some of us do. So that's all.
Mayor, did you have
No,
something to
just
say?
thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, Councilor Stratton?
You know, I said a lot last time, and I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more brief this time. And I think that, you know, of all the questions on here, and okay, they were a quick take on things on a Thursday afternoon, or yeah, it was a Thursday afternoon. Wasn't meant to be exhaustive, wasn't meant to be the only time we cover this, you know. But I think, you know, stepping back from that for a second, who among this council, who among the people who wrote to us, who knows how much local taxpayer money is actually in this project so far? I think many people believe there's none. I know for a fact there's at least 4.1 million. I think we're into the 5 million range, and I'm pretty sure we're going to need a lot more. Who has that information? When has it been published? When would it be published? Why don't we know this?
Anyone who hasn't, okay, Councilor Robbins?
And I'm ready for a vote on this as well, soon, if you don't mind. But I will say, it was interesting, we all got those emails, and I also had phone calls, and I had personal visits from people with questions as well. And it was interesting to me in the series of emails that we got from pretty quickly, one after another, I responded to each one of those people with the 8 questions and simply said, because it seemed as though the message that I got from those folks was about, do you or don't you like Picture Main Street, which was not the question. And I kind of resent the assumption that this was like, I don't like it, so we're not going to do it, and I'm not sure where that comes from. This is a financial order. It's a financial question, answering financial questions about the project, which are not in the FAQs. They are not something to detail that's readily made available. And when I answered and sent back, this isn't, I'm not sure, I think the folks who wrote were people who were alerted by one person's interpretation of what they had heard, but people hadn't actually watched our session and known for themselves. So when I sent back the 8 questions, I had several people write back and say, oh, those are good questions. I'm looking forward to the answers. So it is about sharing information, and it is about being straightforward, and it is about not rising to assumptions. I think most people want this project to be the best project it can be. And in order for it to be the best project it can be, it needs to be something, you're right, that has buy-in across the city. And the best way to have buy-in across the city is, as you advised the mayor, Councillor Loisel, to be ahead of the game, to be able to say, this is what's come up, this is what we're going to pay, this is where we are on the project. We're an intelligent community. We expect those kinds of responses from the people who represent us here on the council. And that's what this proposal is about. And I'm pretty sure I know where the vote's going to go. Makes me a little bit dismayed, I guess, in a sense, but that's the public record, and it can stand.
I'm going to chime in here. I think it's appropriate to get updates, and for us, our constituents ask about this a lot, so I think that's appropriate. I mean, we are kind of a reactive body in the sense this is a business meeting and we don't have items before us, so it doesn't naturally come before us because we, at this point, it's not under the purview of council. That said, I understand the need for updates and that we are representatives of our wards or at large, and we need to get that information. So the reason I'm not going to support it is because I already had asked the mayor to give an update, and she'd already agreed. So I don't really. It seems redundant and unnecessary to pass an order when we've already covered the fact that she's going to give us an update. And Mayor, would you speak to when you would be able to do so?
Sure. So the test pits were finished yesterday, and likely we won't have the information from them for another month. This is the thing, I don't know exactly when we'll have that, but probably not for a month is what Carolyn learned today. So I would say it's safe to say in May. If it comes in early, in time for the second meeting in April, I could do that, but it sounds unlikely.
Okay, so now we have some time frame for that. Okay, so, yeah, do we have a motion? No, we don't have a motion.
I'd move to approve.
Okay. Okay, so roll call on approval.
Councilors,
Yeah, sorry, I think they know.
Yes.
Councilor Davis,
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs,
No.
Councilor Clemmer,
No.
Councilor Loisel,
No.
I made a mistake. Do I have to go around again? Is it too late? I meant to say no.
She can pull it.
Yeah, but Steve,
Well-
since it's still, the vote is still going on, that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I made a mistake.
Well, I think she misunderstood whether a yes or a no.
Right.
That's correct.
yeah.
I made a mistake on how it was
What are you
being
saying about that?
framed.
Oh, I was saying, I thought if it was after the vote, you couldn't change your vote, but since it's still during the vote, that's just.
Okay, right, okay. Why don't we finish the rounding? Yeah,
And then return. Councilor Maori,
no.
Councilor Nabad,
No.
Councilor Perry,
No.
and Councilor Robbins.
And then go back to Councilor Davis,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay,
During the
Councilor
vote.
Davis.
No. Thank you.
So do we just have 2 yeses and?
Yes.
Yeah, 2-7.
Okay, so that fails, and we will be checking in. Yep.
Can I just go back to something about this? Not, just wondering if it's possible to get an update sooner than you said. Or just like,
Yeah.
can we have a time when you come and we ask questions or something?
Okay, but we'd have to get that on an agenda or
Okay.
discuss it after, because we have closed,
Okay.
after we vote. Okay, so moving on to new business, any new business? Okay, so I guess I would be looking.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call on adjournment.
Councilor Davis,
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer,
Yes.
Councilor Loisel,
Yes.
Councilor Maori,
Yes.
Councilor Nabad,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Robbins,
Yes again.
and Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay, so we are so adjourned. Thank you.